Go here. And I'm going to start the YouTube feed right now.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Spaced Out Radio. We are 6 minutes away from getting going on tonight's episode with Lynn K. Russell, where we're going to get into everything about the near-death experience. She's one of the best that we are able to bring in this field. At least that's what I believe. And she is knowledgeable. We're going to talk about her brand new book as well, called The Wonder of You, What the Near-Death Experience Tells You About You and Yourself. About yourself. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun tonight. Thank you so much for everybody tuning us on in. I want to remind you that we do have the Super Chat on, as well as a great way to support the show is to head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, where you can pick out a logo and grab yourself a brand new t-shirt, hat, bags, hoodies, you name it, sweaters, we got it. And it's a lot of fun. Now, you're going to have a lot of fun with us tonight because my voice is feeling a little scratchy all day long. It started last night during the show. And Lynn is going through the same thing right now. Hi, Lynn. How are you?
Hi. I'm wonderful. Thank you.
We're going to make it.
A little scratchy, but I'm okay.
we are going to make it. We are going to make it. I've got your back on this one.
Great.
So I think we're going to do it. We're going to be able to do it. We're officially 5 minutes away from showtime, where we turn on the radios and start the Bumblefoot music and get things going. Hey, Jason, how are you? Michigan Rob, how you doing, man? Join us in the chat room. We'd love to be able to say hello to you. All right. So we're just getting everything ready. So bear with us because we're almost there. We are almost there, people. Yes, I'm excited. You should be too. Near-Death Studies, Lynn K. Russell. Good Canadian kid, all the way from Lethbridge, Alberta, cheering for the Hurricanes of the Western Hockey League. That's the way she does it. Isn't that right, Lynn?
Oh, absolutely. I don't even watch hockey.
Oh, I know, but the Hurricanes are massive. Massive.
Oh, all right. I think they are here.
Yes. Give me 1 second here, Lynn.
Sure.
All right, we're about 90 seconds away. Hi, Millennium. How you doing? Kingdom of Bart. I think Lynn is wearing pants. I believe she is. Probably pajama bottoms, because the poor lady is sick. We got to watch out for Bart.
Okay.
He's almost Quebecois.
Absolutely,
We got to watch out for
I have
him.
pants on.
There we go. He's almost Quebecois, so we got to watch out for him. You know.
Okay.
All right. Let's get this one started. Let's start one of the feeds wherever my mouse went. Come on, where are you? All right. There you are. And we go to here. And let's start this up. All right. Hey, Mr. Apnea, how are you? Mongolian Monster? How are you? All right. We are about 35 seconds away from kicking off the big theme tonight. Yes. Near-death experience. Reminder to all of you coming on in, the super chat is on. If you want to help us on out, we would appreciate that. Also, our store, the SOR Vault, is a great way to pick up your spaced out radio gear because, honestly, you look really good in it. You really would. Lynn K. Russell, once again, our guest tonight on the mighty SOR. All right, Lynn, we are 6 seconds away. And music is on. Here we go, Lynn. From the snowy mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. There's much more to check out, so make sure you do. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Many of us wonder about our own mortality. As we grow older, we are one step closer to dying every day. It sucks, but it's the truth. Is there life after death, or are we all ashes to ashes and dust to dust? Lynn K. Russell is one of the few experts in examining this through her years of research and study into the near-death experience. She has written The Wonder of You, what the near-death experience tells you about yourself, after researching 2,500 NDEs for Dr. Jeff Long, MD, for his book, Evidence of the Afterlife, The Science of the Near-Death Experiences, and the founder at NDERF. She has also studied quantum theory, cosmology, the operation of the brain, and has investigated the studies being done on consciousness. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Lynn K. Russell, you and me, we're both battling this horrid throat cold, which is terrible when you're on the radio, but the show must go on. You're being brave, I'm being brave, and it's great to have you back on Spaced Out Radio.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Not a problem. We're all battling here. My throat is feeling quite ratchy. Yours is as well. If the rest of me felt the way I do, if my throat felt that way too, I'd be just fine. And I'm sure you're the same way.
I must admit I'm a little scratchy, but as long as your audience is okay with that, it's cool.
All right. We're going to battle on through here. Lynn, you are somebody who has had a lifelong of experiences. You have been in an abusive relationship. You have been a single mother. You've had to raise a family on your own. You've done a lot of amazing things with your life that you need to be congratulated with your own strength and dignity that you have shown for yourself and your family as both mother and father. But as we go through our life experiences, yours kind of took a turn into studying near death. How did you go from everyday person to getting into the field of near death research?
Well, I actually have been studying death and the whole area for about I've lost track, 66, 67 years, around there, because when I was around 8, my grandfather died. And that made me realize that we all die. Everybody dies. And that I was going to die. I didn't care about other people. I just didn't want to die. So I was very terrified, and it just really scared me. So I went to my mom and I asked her, what happens when you die? Well, my mom was an atheist. So her answer was nothing. You just disappear. Well, you don't tell an 8-year-old that. So that started me to try and figure out what this was all about. And we didn't do the church thing, so I had no idea. So most of my life was geared to looking at different spirituality and afterlife and what happened. And then when I retired, my I went on to the NDEs, and Dr. Long was looking for someone to do research. And so I was just recently retired. I had all kinds of time. So I volunteered. And it was the best thing I ever did. It was great.
Well, you know what? We're glad that you did. We're glad that you did, because you have heard some of the most amazing stories from beyond that we could only imagine. And, you know, before you got into this, growing up in a household where your mother was atheist and you had questions about your own mortality, like I believe all of us have at one time or another, how did this structure your way of thinking of wanting to look into this and work with Dr. Jeff Long and work with a lot of these patients who have had this amazing experience?
Well, I just found I was so interested in the stories that in the first beginning of my research, I was really interested in the stories that the people were coming back with and what happened, what did they go through. But after a little while, I knew all those things. You get through a few hundred and it's like, oh yeah. So then I became very interested in the lessons that were coming back, the deep, deep underlying lessons that people were bringing back. And that became my concentration.
Lynn K. Russell is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We are talking about near-death experiences. Lynn, as you've gone through time and you've done more than 2,500 cases now, what have you learned through all of these people? And we're going to get more into the direct messages later on in the show because there is so much that we could do and talk about this subject tonight. But is there an overall message that you have learned through all of this that has really affected your personal life?
Yes. One of the things that I've learned is that we don't die. Death is a myth. But we needed that myth for us to be able to function properly in this existence. So that was one of the things. The other thing that came to my learning was the oneness, that everything is one, that there really is. We're all connected. We're all part of one another. And that was very, very significant.
When you say we're all part of one another, is that spiritually? Is that through the soul? What is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, it is through the soul. And that's true because the soul is it's sort of, okay, the soul is what is inside of you, making you yourself. It's also what keeps your body running and makes us be who we are. So the soul is what is living this life. We're not the personality that we think we are. That part disappears as soon as death is here. But the soul stays and continues. But the soul is sort of like is connected to the source, and that connection never ends. It just literally never ends. And so we're like a broadcast where the messages come to us through the source. And so, but the source is one, and we are connected to the source. So that makes us one. So spiritually we are one, physically we are one. as well, even though we recognize each other as being separate. That's a myth.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's something that I also take a look at, because for so many of us, all right, we wonder about this. We don't want to die. Many of us like it here. Hell, I think I live in God's country right now. I mean, yes, I throw that out on a facetious note, but I live exactly where I want to live. I have the family I want to have. In my life, everything is, you know, I mean, there's always troublesomes, but it's as good as I think it could be. And yet, here we are. Every day we have to fight those battles of survival, and it's scary and it's tiresome. And for many of us, we're petrified about what goes on the other side. Should we be scared?
Well, no, but I'm not sure that somebody else coming along and telling you shouldn't be works. I think that it's so ingrained into us to be frightened of death that we really need to see it for ourselves, kind of thing. However, we don't need to be. No, we don't need to be. We're fine. Everything is going to be beautiful.
So how are you?
It is actually.
How are you convinced of that, though? For those of us who have, and I'll tell you an example, Lynn. Okay, I never really questioned my own mortality until I hit 25 years old, and when I was 25 years old, I was blessed to become a father. And, you know, my ex-wife gave me a beautiful baby girl. And I remember the moment. She was about a couple of months old. She woke up in the middle of the night and she was crying. And I was rocking her to sleep. And I just kind of held her. And I said these words that just set me off. And that was, Daddy's going to protect you forever. Daddy's going to be here forever. And then all of a sudden it hit me like a ton of bricks. Holy crap. I just lied to my daughter, because I'm not going to be here. I'm going to die, because everybody does. And it just sent me into the worst anxiety panic attack that I have ever had. And I've had them up until 2011. 2011 is when they stopped.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So from 1999 until 2011, I had these panic attacks.
Yeah, and I don't know. For me, I had a death experience. It was very, 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 very small, and I don't put it in my book because it didn't have any significance. But it did help me to know that the stories and the experiences that people have had are real, that they're not made up, that they're not. And doctors say that it's just something that happens, you know, it's your brain breaking down or it's drugs. But some of the people have been dead for literally hours and hours and hours, and that's not the brain breaking down, and it cannot be the result of chemicals in the brain or drugs. It just can't be. Some of the people have woken up in the morgue in the state of rigor mortis. And that takes, for full rigor mortis to set in, takes between 13 to 14 hours. So these people have been dead that long. So that can't be the brain breaking down. It can't be all the excuses that doctors keep giving. And I get very frustrated when I read another scientist telling us, "Oh, it's all your brain. It's all in your mind."
No, it gets frustrating. But for the nerves of people out there who are listening, all right, that is where I think a lot of this turns. You know, how do you comfort people in letting them know? Because let's face it, you know, books are books. You have a great book out, and I'm not putting it down whatsoever. But words are words as well. I have a lot of paranormal experiences that I explain to people. It is their choice whether or not they want to believe me. I have no reason to lie to them, just like you have no reason to lie about your research towards the NDE. But there's a lot of people out there who are going to say, you know, I don't buy it. I'm atheist, or I'm agnostic. I don't buy it. I'm not getting it. I don't believe the studies, even though the numbers are right there on the internet to find, but they could be skewed because nobody believes anything on the internet anymore. There's a lot of factors that go into this stuff.
Yeah. I think the thing that helped me was that when I went into the deeper level and started to understand, and it's very, very much like Buddhist kind of thinking or Zen even, that we are all connected and it's all one, and everything that I talk about relates back to that point. And so here's the story. People die. They have completely different experiences from each other. And that's because we take an active role in creating the experience that we have. And so in that, it's because we have the power to create. And that to me is significant, very, very significant, because we are way more powerful than we have ever given ourselves credit for being. And so when I recognized that the oneness, and then I recognized that we had the power to create, then that told me that I'm creating this life right now. This is a creation, not there, here. And that's how that and the science that I went through, because the science sort of put the clutch together and all put it together for me. And with the science, I studied, quantum physics has some wonderful science that is now coming out that shows us that, wait a minute, there's some pretty screwy things that are happening, and they're happening through us. Through us, we have a role to play in quantum physics. Another thing, and I mean mentally, and the other thing is there's studies being done on consciousness, and the studies being done on consciousness, it's wonderful. It's just great. It's like we, as I said, it's like we're being broadcasted, like we've got this channel between ourselves and the source that's constantly happening. And that's another thing that was very exciting for me. I think one of the final things was that through quantum consciousness, I realized that consciousness, the universe is conscious. And if the universe is conscious, then that means that we are connected to the universe. And that means that the source is connected. And we are part of that creating. We create every second of every day, of every moment. Now, I know that I'm not getting too scaring about death, except to tell you that when people die, it is the most beautiful experience very few people ever want to return. I've only known one who wanted to return. Most of them, there's no way, because it's just so beautiful. They're filled with love and peace and joy. But the other thing is they become the source. If they're there for long enough, they actually enter the light, see themselves as spirit rather than physical, and become the source. And that's a beautiful experience as well. But people who don't believe, it's very, very hard to convince somebody if they don't believe. It's just, I'm sorry, I can't do much better than that.
Yeah, no, and I understand that. We're not going to convince everybody here as we go through this. But Lynn, when you talk about source, what do you mean by source?
Well, I call the creator would be source. And I have a bunch of names that I call it, like positive energy force or the creator, or, that kind of thing. But it would be what most people call God or Allah, or, they have different names for it.
So does it matter if you believe in God or not?
No, I don't think you have to. What you have to do is you have to open your mind to be able to see that the possibilities. Yeah, you have to be able to open yourself up to see other possibilities rather than the ones that you've locked yourself into, like the no or the yes, or even my yes. I have to question myself all the time. You know, what if? What if I'm not right? What if? But then I have to go back because it's right there in front of my face.
It's interesting, though, as we got about 4 minutes to go before we go to break at the bottom of the hour. Lynn K. Russell is discussing near-death experiences here tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Lynn, as we continue on with the topic of near-death experience, is this something that happens to everybody of every race, of every religion, of every age?
Yes. Yes, and I say yes to with qualifications because for some reason there are some people who don't have any experience, and we don't understand how come. But some people will come back and they can't remember anything. But I've had people who have had more than one experience come back, and the first time they didn't remember anything, and the second time they did. So, or vice versa. So, yes, the same thing, not the exact same experience, though. That experience has happened with all people, but not the exact same experience because we have different lives that we've lived and different teachings and different understandings.
Right. And with those...
There's also many, there's also many atheists who've died that have had amazing experience, and of course, that's changed their minds.
Including a lot of Ivy League professors like Dr. Eben Alexander.
Yes, he's one. There's many. Yeah, there's quite a few. If you just go to NDEs and go to the search engine and put in atheist, and you'll get a bunch.
Yeah. I fully get where you're going with that. Fully get where you're going with that. Now, I'm curious with regards to what people are feeling. Is it different, say, for a child who has this experience at, say, 5 years old, comparatively to a 55-year-old man or woman who has this experience?
No. That's the funny thing is that when children have the exact same experience that adults have. Because the soul doesn't have an age. There's no time at the spirit level. So the soul doesn't have an age. The soul is just the age it is.
That's hard to fathom.
So it doesn't matter.
That's hard to fathom.
Yeah, well, because it doesn't. Well, it isn't because we look at this person and we see a person that is 5 years old. But the soul within that person is ancient. It's eternal. It never dies. So
does this lead more credence then, as we got about a minute to go here, to reincarnation?
Oh, it does lead into that too, yes. And reincarnation is a very definite experience. And there's lots and lots of wonderful research done on reincarnation that good quality stuff, that is well documented and very well done from professionals, doctors and psychiatrists and so on.
Interesting. Very interesting. When we come back from the break here, I want to start getting into what the near-death experience is, what people are experiencing, because for a lot of us, we haven't had that experience. We've never seen the other side. We don't know what that feeling is like. And I'm curious if you could break that down with us and maybe fill in some stories that we are going to do there as well, because I think it's important for us to get a real feel for this. So, Lynn, you hold tight, because we're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Author Lynn K. Russell is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. She's got a brand new book out, came out on January 31st, called The Wonder of You, What the Near-Death Experience Tells You About Yourself. More with Lynn K. Russell and near-death experiences on Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this. That was a fast half hour, Lynn. Fast half hour.
Oh, good. I thought I wasn't allowed to talk to you during the thing because the break because they could hear.
Oh, YouTube is listening to us right now. You can wave at them if you want. They won't see you, but you can wave at them.
Well, hi guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that was a good half hour quick. Yeah.
Give me 1 second here. All right, sorry about that. All right, who do we have here? We're going to give a shout out to everybody on YouTube. I'm looking down at the screen here. Hi, Nick. Hi, Slim. Hey, Corey, Bill, how you doing? Chris, good to have you back again. Who else do we got here? Greco, how you doing? The One, nice to see you. And yes, Geraldine Orozco will be back on April 7th, which is a Tuesday night, the first Tuesday of April. Hi, Shar. And who else we got here? Mr. Apnea, good to have you here. The Geek, nice to see you again. And who am I? Bart L, always a pleasure. And where else are we here? Shanna Banana, hi, how are you? And I don't think I'm missing anybody. Nathan Rudd, good to have you here. And I said hello to everybody else so far, so thank you so much for joining us tonight. Chocobo, thank you so much for giving us a thumbs up. I appreciate that. Really appreciate that. So, you can hear Lynn too, because Lynn's hanging out with us. Lynn's a party girl from Alberta. Alberta people know how to party.
Yes, they do.
Are you born and raised in Alberta, Lynn?
No, I was born in Ontario.
Oh, okay.
I came when I was 40.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've only been to Lethbridge, I think, once, and I was 7 years old, and we were attending my cousin's wedding in Bracken, in what is now a ghost town called Bracken, Saskatchewan.
Oh, yes, Lethbridge is small. It's a small city. It's about 100,000. I was very hesitant of coming here because I lived in Calgary and I worked in Calgary. And then when I retired, I came here. But I came here at my daughter's urging.
Oh, wow.
The city's got a nice feel to it. So
cool.
It's sort of homey.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Hi, Jeff. Oh, hey, Jeff. The clam, the desert clam, the man of the password, right there on YouTube. How are you? Penticton. My sister lives in Penticton. Yes, she lives in Penticton. I love Penticton. It's gorgeous. Very gorgeous. All right. Who else we got in here? Do not like the eyesore scrolling banner? Well, it's slow. It's not going very fast, Jeff. It's not going very fast, man. Not going fast at all. All right, we have about 2.5 minutes, Lynn. 2.5 minutes.
Okay.
I just pounded a couple Dayquils. Let's see how this works now. Let's see how this works.
Oh, yes.
Hopefully it'll help my throat out. me 1 second here. Sorry about that. Just have to. We're trying to set up our ghost tour for this coming year. Yeah, we do a ghost tour to raise money for the local museum, which is really fun and very cool.
I think it would be, yeah.
Yes.
I would like to do that.
Well, come on.
I've never been on one, but
Come on. Actually,
go ahead.
Come on out. Come on out. Everybody's welcome. Yeah, everybody's welcome. All right, we got about 40 seconds, Lynn. Then I'll reintroduce you and the show. Hi, Greco in the YouTube chat room. It is supposed to snow here again coming up in the next day or 2 or 3. And we're not supposed to get too much, but it's just a pain in the butt because everything's trying to melt right now. My driveway literally is about 3 inches of ice right now. So glad I got good snow tires.
Paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
All right, hold on here. We're going to bring this thing back into action. There's our music. And here we go. Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Good to have each and every one of you with us tonight. Reminder that if you want to watch the show live or check out all of our free archives, you can do so at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight, we are talking with author Lynn K. Russell. She has a fantastic book out right now called The Wonder of You, What the Near-Death Experience Tells You About Yourself. It can be found on Amazon, which I highly suggest you do. Lynn, 2,500 plus cases you have studied in this field of the near-death experience. That's just amazing.
Yes.
How do you even find time for that?
Well, I was retired, newly retired, so I had lots of time.
So out of those 2,500, are there, and I'm sure there's a number of them that really stick out with you, but could you share a story with us or two about ones that have really, really captivated you?
That's a little difficult. Yes, I can tell you some. The one that stood up for me was a lady who committed suicide. Now, she is a very good writer, and she also wrote a book, but her report on NDEs was very articulate, and so she was able to talk about things that in a very good way, a very intelligent way. What happened was she had committed suicide. She took pills. And when she left her body, normally this doesn't happen. She went immediately into the light. And that's not normal. There's usually stages that go in between the death and then the light. Anyway, she went right away into the light, and she was thinking the light was accepting her and warm and loving and caring for her, and just arms open. And she thought, what's going on? I just committed suicide, so I should be in hell, or I should be punished, or what's going on? And of course, it wasn't. She was just given more and more love, and her experience and how when she felt that love, she gave it back, and then the source where she was right into the light. also emphasized, and then it grew and grew and grew between the two of them as they gave love to each other back and forth. So that was a nice experience. I really loved that story. And her name, in NDERF, her name is DW. But she's written a book that is called Dead is a 4-letter word. And her name is Debbie Sue Wheeler. So I do recommend getting her book. Another one is a lady called Mira. And Mira was a very, very wealthy lady. And she ran her own business, and she was very successful. Her and her secretary were driving and got into a car accident, and she was killed. And her death experience was just mind-boggling. She went deep into it to the point where she understood the deep, deep lessons of spirituality. But that wasn't the thing. The thing that went through her brain and stuck there was that material things are nothing, that they don't mean a thing, that they're just material. And so she was not only able to learn the deeper lessons, but when she came back, she got rid of all her wealth. And she lived a very simple life in another country. And her name is Mira, Mira, if anybody wants to look her up. And Mira, that's not her original name, but it isn't unusual for people who have had death experiences to rename themselves because the experience is so changing. They come back completely different people. And so it's not unusual for them to rename themselves. Another one is a lady called Hafur. She calls herself Hafur. Hafur is a place, so I just think that's where she's from. But her experience, she was just a normal, ordinary housewife, and I think she was having a baby, actually. And she was just a normal housewife and really didn't think very much about spirituality at all. But her experience was so deep that she came back with, I don't even know. It's hard to describe this. She came back with information that was why we're here, what it's all about, what we're supposed to do, all of that kind of information she came back with, as did Mira, by the way. So those were the ones. There was one lady her name was Phoebe O. O is in last names here, letter O. And Phoebe didn't die. She had a death experience as a spiritual experience. You know how some people are having beautiful experiences spiritually? Well, she did too, but hers was a death experience. And so she had the full experience, and she had a great deal of learning. So all of these are on NDERF, and I really do suggest people read them because they're just mind-boggling. They're beautiful. Another thing that I could tell you about is that we each take an active role in creating the death experiences that we have, each one of us. And and I say that very strongly because we are connected to the source. Now, oh boy, what was I going to say? I've lost track of my thought.
Well, let's continue on with the idea of, I want to touch on quickly about children again, because I can see this being something of a life changer for somebody who's, say, 25, 35, 45, 55, 65 plus years old. But for a child who is, say, 3 years old, 4 years old, maybe up to 10 years old, who really hasn't experienced life yet, and hasn't experienced much, doesn't know what life is really about outside of mom and dad. How does this? I can't imagine how there wouldn't be more of a difference between what an adult is experiencing emotionally over this comparatively to a child.
So you're talking about when they come back?
Yes.
Not the death experience itself.
No.
Okay.
But when they come back.
Well, when they come back, it does affect their experience, their life, all the way through, because it's such a strong experience to have that it affects everything. It affects their whole life and how they see the world. And so they do have a very strong effect. It affects how they treat people. It affects how they look towards life, and because they know that it's temporary, they know, and so that makes a big difference in how they see life and themselves.
How would a child know, though? If, like, I look at my 6-year-old son, he has no clue about the coronavirus. He has no clue about, the tensions in the Middle East. He doesn't even, he's just starting to learn his hockey teams. I mean, there's no way that he would be able to comprehend, and maybe I'm saying that naively, but I don't think he would be able to comprehend what is really going on.
I agree. The average child that's true of the average child, but children who have had death experiences are no longer the average child. They've changed drastically. A woman who has a great deal of experience in this is PMH Atwater.
Yes.
And so, she has written extensively about children. She had a number of death experiences herself, and then that went into children. But children have this, when they're there, they have the same kind of experience that adults have. When they're here, they become different people. They just aren't like the average kid. I mean, sure, they'll play and they'll laugh and and when it comes to the Middle East or the coronavirus or things like that, they see those kind of things completely different than the rest of us because they understand that it's not real. And that is a hard thing for us, you and I, to get through. What do you mean it's not real? It's real, but it's part of. It's like a movie or a play that we are and we're the actors and we're the directors and we're the producers. We're everything. We're the whole thing, and we create this movie that we live. But it's not real. It's no more real than a Shakespearean play.
So if it's nothing more real than a Shakespearean play, how do we know what reality is?
Well, that's where the really deep stuff, the reality is, and that's really what my book is about. My book is not about near-death experiences, and it's not about the science. It's about how beautiful, how absolutely magnificent we are as humans. Human beings are just mind-boggling. They're so beautiful. Excuse me. Sorry about that. But we really are, and that is what I've tried to get across in this second edition of The Wonder of You. Because that is what I learned, how beautiful we all are. And that has changed my view of other people, of the world, of myself, and of life. Because I understand, I think maybe because I've studied spirituality all my life, I understand that this is an illusion, which is very Buddhist in their thinking, Right.
Now, another question that comes to this for a lot of people, okay, we know that there are over 5,000 gods prayed to on this planet in a plethora of different religions and spiritual beliefs. Now, if all the souls are connected to one source, like you say, does it matter what religion you are a part of? So let's say you're part of the Hindu religion or Buddhist, or you are First Nations, where you pray to the gods of the sun and the sky and the water and the fire and so on and so forth. Or if you're Christian and you just pray to God, how does this turn out when you have the near-death experience? Does the religion even matter?
No. On the other side, religion doesn't matter. The reason, and people have asked that, why so many different religions? And the answer comes back because we're all different. And so what will work for one person won't work for another. And so it's just a way to speak to where that person is.
All right, but would there be conflict coming back after having that experience because of what that person has been taught to believe after all these years?
Yes, absolutely. That does cause problems. There's a lot of problems that happen when they come back. They come back very caring and loving and want to do good for the world, but they don't care about material things anymore. They can just throw that out, and that causes problems with marriages if the other party is very much into having. That's one of the things. But the other thing is the different religions, they come back saying, that isn't what I was taught. And here's the other thing, and this doesn't make sense. And this is why I say nothing is just cut and dried at the spirit level, because people will come back having a death experience, and they will become Buddhist, or they'll become, a completely different religion, which Buddhism is, by the way, one of the most favorites. It's not the only one, but it is one of the most favorites. There's a lady, and I cannot remember her name. I think it's Penny, but I'm not sure about that. And she was born, and she was devoted to her church. She was Southern Baptist, and she lived for the church. And her experience told her, she had such a completely different experience that she was blown away. And she said, that's not the way. Not. Now, she did try to keep going back to the church, but it had a different meaning for her now. And so she had a bit of a hard time with that. Another thing is that people who are non-Christians will see Jesus, and people who are Christians will see Moses. It just doesn't make any sense. Or Muhammad, or, it doesn't make sense, but to us here.
No. And, for those who haven't had that experience, it's going to be very difficult to fully understand. It's going to be very difficult to understand, and that is part of the heartbreak that we have, is we want to believe, we just don't know how.
Yeah. What convinced me was, as I've said, that these people were dead for hours and hours and hours, came back in rigor mortis, could not have had any other explanation. The other thing about it is that they come back knowing things that they couldn't possibly know. They know what you are doing here. They can see us and know what we're thinking and what we're feeling and what we're experiencing. And when they come back, they can tell us what we were doing or what we were wearing or where we were at any particular time. So that's something that they can do, is they just know things. They know everything. And that's another thing. When they have their death experience, they'll ask a question. They will get an answer that is so complete that there is literally no questions left. They've covered every aspect of that particular question.
What does science say about this? Because for the majority of scientific doctors out there, we're one and done. There is nothing out there. Yet there are many that are changing that, led by, and I will say this because I do believe he's a very strong leader due to where he teaches at Harvard, and that's Eben Alexander.
Mhm. um, so science. Well, I love science, actually. I really do. I truly love science, and I totally understand where they're coming from. Science looks at how things operate and proves it through tests that are repeated and peer reviews and different things like that. And they prove, and then they'll say, okay, that's black and white. But very, very rarely will you hear a scientist say, it is fact. they always say something like, it's a theory, it's an idea, it's a hypothesis. Only now are they starting to see that a lot of Einstein's theories were correct, but they're still theories. Science doesn't ever say absolute. There's no absolutes with science, because the next month or the next year or 20 years later, somebody else comes along and they have better tools or better understanding, and they prove it all wrong. So, but science is very black and white. Very, very black and white. They want to know exactly that this is and this isn't. So they can't take into their understanding something like spirituality, because you can't prove it. There's no test that you can do repeatedly and come up with the same answer every single time. It doesn't happen with science.
I understand that, but do you feel that more scientists and doctors are starting to open up, as we got about 2.5 minutes here before we go to break?
Okay. Yes, they are. There are more and more who are doing it, and it's because they're starting to see. And like I talked about with quantum physics and our connection to the universe, mental connection to the universe, humans, I'm talking, and they see that. And people working with, Bruce Lipton, it changed and became spiritual when he was working with cells and saw something that clicked in his head and said, and that's happening more and more. One of the other research, and this man has a very high reputation, and that is, it's gone. He works with consciousness, and he's a philosopher, and he's a scientist, and he's been quantum physicist, and he's been working with this for David Chalmers. That's it. And he has come around. He's saying that it's panpsychism, which means that God is everywhere. And that's his theory. So, and he's done that through studies with consciousness. So it's coming. It's coming. There's more and more that are getting on the bandwagon.
What do the studies say? What are they looking for? As we got about 1 minute here.
The research studies?
Yes.
Or which studies? I'm not quite sure which studies.
Well, the doctors and the scientists who are looking into this, and maybe there's not enough time now to really get into that, but I'm curious about what the scientists are looking for in the idea that the brain is functioning, because it's always been believed that the brain takes time to shut down. The heart may have stopped, but there are a number of minutes there where the brain needs to calculate everything and start shutting down all the switches to the human body. And what you're saying, and what many new doctors and scientists are saying, is that really isn't the case. Even though that's happening, there's another section to this all that is really in need of study, and I believe that's where we got to go. Correct? As we only got about 10 seconds. Let's save that for when we get back, because I think that's important to get into this conversation. Lynn K. Russell has studied over 2,500 near-death experience cases over her life. And we're going to get into the scientific side of this all when we come back. Lynn's latest book, and I want you to check this out: The Wonder of You, What the Near-Death Experience Tells You About Yourself. We're going to learn about that as well here on Spaced Out Radio with Hour 2 coming up right around the corner. All right, Lynn, I am going to disappear. I'm going to take my doggies outside for a little bit here. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. I'm going to keep the commercials running for our YouTube audience. That way you can rest your throat and just relax for a few minutes.
Edwards. Together, we're taking over Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio, where we're going to bring our own experiences of the paranormal and talk to the best people we can find to help bring you answers to your strange tales.
We're here to entertain your need for weekend woo! So tune us in at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, where we can all get a little spooky together.
Spaced Out Saturday nights right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
We're taking Sunday nights out of this world on Spaced Out Radio. This is Michael W. Hall, also known as the Paranormal Lawyer. Together, we're going to go on an exciting journey into the unknown. I'm going to bring you some of the best interviews in the paranormal and supernatural to start your new week off on a freaky note. So tune in to Spaced Out Sundays with me, Michael W. Hall, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget.
I am back, Lynn.
From commercial spots to banners to special promotion.
I am right back.
Great.
Yeah.
And your dogs are happy?
Yeah. They go do their thing. They'll do it again in another hour. But I can hear them getting ready to scratch at the door. So. My daughter was thankful enough to bring me an ice cap during the show in the last half hour, so I'm pretty thankful for that.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes. Pretty happy about
that. Helps your throat.
It does. It totally does.
Yeah.
We've got about 2.5 minutes here, my dear.
Okay. All right.
Hey, everybody on YouTube. Hope you're enjoying this show. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you like what we are doing. And remember, the Super Chat is on if you care to use the Super Chat. And don't forget, we have Spaced Out Radio swag that is looking really good on our website, spacedoutradio.com. All you got to do is go to our website, click on the SOR Vault, and you have the opportunity to get some Spaced Out Radio gear. And when you do that, do me a favor, take a picture of it with you. I want to get a photo so that way we can put it on our website and use it if you don't mind, and you give us permission, of course, because we want to know how you SOR. So make sure you do that. I'd appreciate it. Yeah, it's just that simple. Just that simple. So anyhow, I hope you're having a good time tonight. Thank you to everybody who's coming on into the chat room, hanging on out with us. Hey, Science Bob, how you doing? Science Bob. He actually has a cape that reads Science Bob on it. Yes. I know.
Well, lovely. I love it.
Yes. Science Bob is like right in there. He's right in.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoying it. And you got more snow coming too, don't you?
Yes, we got days of it. I think they're going to be about 4 days nonstop.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not looking forward to it.
Well, right now it's a balmy 36 degrees Fahrenheit, 2 degrees Celsius here. Oh, good. They changed the forecast. They changed the forecast. We have like no snow coming now. We were supposed to get snow. Oh, pardon me. Friday.
Oh, good.
Friday. -9 Celsius, -17 in the evening. Really? Come on. Come on. Scattered flurries throughout the day. Thank you, Friday the 13th. Then it warms up again.
That's right, it is.
And it warms up to, well, it goes -8, -6, and then -1, and then +1. Like, come on. Hold on, Lynn. Here we go.
So it is. It's working on it. It's working.
Yeah, we're getting there. We are getting there. Science Bob with his cape. Here we go, hour number 2, coming right now.
Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 is underway on Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to welcome back everyone listening in on KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans, KZAX 94.9 FM in Bellingham, Washington, and KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon. On the digital side, we're proud to broadcast on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. Great to have you with us. Remember, you can check out our live show or all of our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Acarophobia. Acarophobia is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, and so many more features for you to check on out. Tonight we are talking about the near-death experience. Author and researcher Lynn K. Russell is with us. She's got a new book out, just came out at the end of January, called The Wonder of You, What the Near-Death Experience Tells You About Yourself. Now, Lynn, right before the break, we were getting into a little bit of a science discussion regarding the near-death experience. And what are scientists looking for that are studying this field? What are they trying to know? What do they want to figure out?
Well, actually, scientists don't study this. They ignore it. They think that it's just a hogwash, so they don't put a lot of attention on it. What scientists do is they answer the big questions of how does things work. So that's what they're really looking for, is the answers to the universe and how they work, and even right down to the quantum level, in atoms and how they work. But they're not interested in anything that you can't pin down and research it and try it. There were very little research from scientists in this field. Now, I happen to think, I wrote an article, and anyone's welcome to look it up. It's called Near-Death Experiences Are Real, a Rebuttal. And what I'm doing is I'm writing a rebuttal to this whole science telling us it's just our imaginations or so on and so forth. They've stopped researching it. They don't want to know the answers. When I was doing the research, I was doing the research for a man who already did believe. So I wasn't researching to prove whether it was real or not. I was researching to get information for him for his book. And then I just got hooked and stayed. kept going. So scientists don't want to know about near-death experiences, and if you try and explain it to them, they won't listen. In my article that I've just mentioned, I talk about things and areas that need to be studied more. For example, we need to have those people who have waken back up after hours and hours of death. We need to have them researched. We need to know if there was any drugs, what the drugs were, how come they had it, and those kind of things. We need to know more information, but I doubt that we'll get scientists that'll research it.
But there are important people looking into this. We do have a number of doctors who say there is something happen. I know I've mentioned Eben Alexander a couple of times. I mean, he's a well-known American neurosurgeon, and he had
an experience.
Right.
He had an experience. Before he had his experience, he didn't believe in it either. And as a matter of fact, the father of near-death experiences doesn't think people died. And that's Raymond Moody. He's studying all kinds of spiritual stuff, but he does not believe in death, that these people have died and come back. That's not what he thinks. He thinks that they just sort of died. They had not a real death. They just, it was sort of like maybe. That is how he thinks. So unless now there are doctors that have had death experiences that go on, and there's a number of them, as I mentioned. Just look them up on NDEs or even IANDS, IANDS. That's it. Yeah, and so, but the scientists that you're talking about are scientists who already believe, for whatever reason, they believe. And so then they're more open to looking and to see. And I hope that they do, because I really think we need a lot more work than what we're getting.
Well, what? Okay, so you say we need a lot more work than what we're getting. What would you like to see happen? What needs to be done?
Yeah. Okay. People, as I've said before, they come back after many, many hours. How come? What's the difference between people who have had experiences and people who haven't had experiences, and no experience at all? And how come there are people that that they didn't have an experience. Is there a difference in the drugs? Is there a difference in the treatment? Those kind of questions need to be cleared up. We don't have guesswork, because that's what we have right now, is a bunch of doctors guessing. Oh, well, it might be this drug, or it might be, the breaking down of the brain, or it might be, but that's not authentic enough. We have to have somebody who's willing to get in there and ask the heady questions. Another one is these people who have come back after being dead for a long, long time. And by the way, the longest recorded, and this is recorded, death was 29 hours. And that was a man who was a sailor, and he was doing scuba diving or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it was for the work. But anyway, and he stepped on a poisoned coral, and so he was dying. So they rushed him back into the boat again, the guys that were with him. And the doctor there hooked him up to find out if there was brain activity. And there wasn't. But for some reason that I don't understand, the doctor left the ECG on his brain going. And it was going for 29 hours. And then the doctor came back into the room, and he woke up. And the doctor just about freaked. And he said, why are you so upset? And the doctor said, because you've been dead for 29 hours. And there was the recording of it all the way through.
How does somebody do that without having brain damage?
Now, I know. And the same with these people that have been gone 14, 15 hours. How come they don't have any brain? That's the kind of thing we need to research. We need to know about them. But you see, the thing is that what's happening, I'm guessing. I have to be very careful not to blame. But what I think is happening is that this is not an area that doctors want to explore. And so they don't look at it. They just close the door and say, well, okay, it's just, but they don't, like, when these people come back to life, is that recorded? Where is it recorded? How long have they gone for? And look at their treatment. What did they have done? Those are the things that I think needs to be done. But people aren't doing it. They're not even looking.
And that's the tough part, is trying to figure that out. That's the tough part.
Yes. Yeah.
Can we, much like what we see with paranormal study, where people are having all of these experiences with the dead, there's really no high quality evidence out there that proves or disproves that it is happening. Yes, we've seen videos. Yes, we've heard, disembodied voices. Okay, we've got photos that show strange anomalies. Okay, like for me, if I were to say, if my opinion, I would say there's a lot of proof, but to the scientific community, there is not, and we can't recapture and reproduce that as a scientific experiment. Is that the same way with what we are doing with NDEs?
Yes, exactly. That is the crux right there, that it can't be re-examined over and over and over and get the same result every time. So they just turn their back on it.
So what happens, actually, before I ask you this question, I'm going to get to R. Keith Andrews' question here, because he's in our chat room tonight, and he is asking, Lynn, he goes, Lynn, I'm curious, have you actually had an NDE yourself? And if you did, how did that go for you?
I had a very small NDE. I don't normally talk about it because it was in comparison to all the ones that I've read, mine is like hardly there. Anyway, what the story is that I was sick in bed at home. I had a very high fever, and actually I was feeling like I was going to die. And then the next thing I know, I'm in a tunnel. And it's a gray tunnel with sort of a smoky gray kind of color. And there's this man with me, a guide, a spirit guide. And I can't figure out what the heck's happening. I part of me knows I've died. there's this piece in my brain, but I'm still curious about this man and who he is and, what this is all about. Anyway, so we start traveling up this tunnel, and we see a prick of light, just a tiny spot of light, and this big, heavy voice comes down the tunnel, and it's male, by the way, and it says, "Take her back. It's not her time." So the man beside me says, "But she died," and the voice comes back and says, "Take her back. She has much left to do." And the next thing I know, I'm back in my body. So you see, I did have a death experience, but it was hardly worth it. not earth shaking.
I have had a ton of experiences that I cannot explain, but the one I do not want is an NDE or an OBE. Those two just scare the daylights out of me. Just scare the daylights. And I'm going to get to, and Greco here actually has a good question regarding that. He is asking on our YouTube channel, can a consciousness get lost and not return to its original body?
No. And I've had that asked before. I've had asked things like, can another soul come into the body and take over, like a walk-in? And that does not happen. Those kind of things don't happen. No, and the soul can't get lost, because the soul, that's a pretty deep thing to try and explain. The soul is part of the source, or the creator, or whatever word you want to call it. And you can't expect the source to get lost. It just isn't possible. And so, no, something like that can't happen.
All right, let's get to another question here from our audience. This one comes from Joey in our SOR Space Travelers Club on our website. He is asking, so according to you, there are no records, Lynn, being kept of these extraordinary events that are cataloged in medical archives?
Well, that is something that I would really like. As far as I know, it's just not talked about. I have tried to find reports of people who have been dead for hours and hours and then come back. But they're just, I don't know what they do in the hospitals, if they pronounce somebody dead and then all of a sudden they're alive again. What happens with those reports? Where does that happen? Where does it go? That's the kind of thing I would like to know. But to my knowledge, I don't think it's reported, and it's certainly not. It is definitely not being researched, which it desperately needs to be.
Right. Okay.
If you go to Google and my article, which is near-death experiences are real, a rebuttal, and you can read what I've written there.
Excellent. What do people experience when they die?
Okay. As I've mentioned a few times, there's no one death experience. Everyone has every single death experience is different, and that's because we are different, and we create the death experience that we have. We take an active role in creating it. So, for example, we hear about people going up in a tunnel. Well, actually, there's only about half the people that go in through the tunnel, and those that do go through the tunnel have completely different tunnels. There's no two tunnels that are the same. So, it's all individual. But anyway, there are things that all people have. So I will talk about those things. So when they leave their body, they may or may not have a bright light in their room, or they may not have a guide with them, or there, like I had, to take them to where they're going. And so, but the one thing that does happen is that they will feel this feeling of overwhelming love and peace, and it's all good, it's okay. And so that they will feel that. That's mostly the first thing, is not to get upset. Sometimes they get a little frightened, and then that they'll get this calming kind of, it's okay, everything's fine. So that's the first thing that happens. Then they travel to where they're going. Now, some people may go to outer space and look down at the Earth and the rest of the stars and be a part of it, and that's a beautiful experience. Some people go to a void where it's just blackness. There's nothing there, but it's usually very peaceful. They just are curious what's going on. The occasional person might be a little frightened and wonder what's going on, but most of the time it's just a curiosity because they don't feel frightened. But then as soon as they start questioning, they'll see a speck of light in the distance, and the light will get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until they are at the light, and then they find themselves at their destination, wherever that might be. People have all kinds of different destinations. So, for example, some people go to a beautiful garden or like a park. Some people will go to the seaside. Some people will find themselves in mountains. And some people find themselves in cities with golden buildings and beautiful glass buildings and things like that. So those are the things most often that happen. Another thing that most often happens is that their loved ones are there to greet them and that have passed ahead of them. And so they will be able to, love them and get all this love. They just get filled up with so much love. And if a person, for example, you or I have an issue with someone and they pass us, it's gone. It's completely gone. And so we may be still holding on to it, but they've let it go. They love us more than we can ever imagine on the other side. And that's including our relatives. So then what the next thing that will happen, sometimes their guide, once they've met their relatives, then their guide may take them for a trip around and just show them around and explain things to them. And that's when they get the chance to ask any question in the universe. And they do. And they get complete, total answers. And it doesn't matter how deep. It can go right to the point of the very beginning of whatever is the beginning. I don't know, because I think it's all eternal, so I don't know what the beginning would be. But anyway, there are some people who ask to go to the beginning, and they find themselves part of this huge light, and they know that they're a soul that belongs to this light, and that they are the light. Okay, then they'll see themselves creating. Now, these are for people who have asked to go to the beginning. So they'll see themselves actually creating the universe and other things, like other universes, as a matter of fact. And they'll also see themselves creating all the life forms that are on different planets. So it isn't just here. They will often at this point, not the ones who have gone to the beginning, but the ones who have stayed where they are with the glass buildings or wherever, the garden, they will have a life review. And the life review will be going over all of the things that we did here in this existence. So, and it starts from birth right through till the moment that you died. And the things that they learn, they need, like, they'll experience exactly what they did to other people. So it's and that's a little hard to explain. It isn't a punishment. but we become the other person. And if we've done good things, we feel such goodness inside of ourselves and very proud and joyful. And if we've done negative things to another person, then we feel grief and sad and really quite upset.
Lynn, I'm going to cut you off right there because we're going to go to break. I want you to hold that thought. We're going to continue that right after the break. Lynn K. Alexander, The Near-Death Experience, her book, The Wonder of You, What the Near-Death Experience Tells You About Yourself, continues on Spaced Out Radio right after this. All right, we are clear. I know there's some questions piling up in the YouTube channel right now. I am going to try and get to them here when we come back from break, so just stay patient. Also on YouTube, want to remind all of you that a good way to support this show is by hitting that super chat button on YouTube. As well, you can go to our website, spacedoutradio.com, pick yourself up a shirt. If you haven't already, pick yourself up some other really cool swag that we have at the vault. We'd really appreciate the support. Thank you for doing us a favor and listening in as well. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. We'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Hope you're enjoying tonight's evening. Lynn, how are you?
I'm getting scratchy.
Very cool.
Oh, I'm going to run and get a drink.
You do that. I'll just hang out with the people here.
Okay.
All right. Hi, Kyle Bassa, or Kilbassa. I remember you now from San Francisco at UFOCon 2020. I gave you a poster because you sat at my table. I remember you. How are you? Hope you are doing well. Yes. For all of you who didn't attend, you missed out. You totally missed out. Oh, my nose is killing me from my glasses today. Totally killing me. Are you guys having fun tonight? See, we got 39 people in here. We had 41 before. That's really cool. Thank you so much for tuning us in. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. That is pretty awesome. All right. We will get to your questions when we come back from break. Yes. Miss Nova there. Thank you, Lynn. Miss Nova there in the chat room. She could tell you that I had a fun time up on stage at UFOCon 2020 a couple of weeks ago. What really sucks is my next conference isn't until August. I wish there was like one in between. That would be really cool. So, yes. I've never had a near-death experience. I don't want one, Lynn. Don't want one of those. I don't know what would freak me out more, having a near-death experience or one of those out-of-body experiences where you got like that long silver cord. I don't know which one would scare me most.
Yeah. Actually, if you actually had one, it would be so beautiful that you would want to have more. I was giving a talk one time, and after the talk, this woman came up to me and said, "I'm just marking time. I don't want to be here. I want to get back to home." She called it home. Yeah.
When
which is sad.
You know what's cool is you just said something that triggered me. Trigger. Anyways, when what led me into this field was I actually saw the angel of death in my mother's eyes, and 2 hours later, without knowing anything. Hi, Donnie. How are you? Without knowing anything. This happened on December 13th, 2011. And 2 hours after my mom left, after I had this incident with my mom, I ended up channeling the angel of death. And one of the things he told me was how to keep my mom alive. Because my mom is a 2-time cancer survivor. So a lot of people will say to me, Dave, why don't you get a haircut? Why don't you get a haircut? Because I've been growing it to donate it. That's kind of a gift for my mother. And my mother will be 77 in May. And, anyways, the angel of death channeled through me And you got to realize, Lynn, my whole idea of what channeling was previous to that was flipping through the remote control as fast as I could with my thumb, trying to figure out what channel I want to watch. And I know I don't even say that as being funny, man. I don't even that's the truth. So when I ended up channeling the angel of death that night, he actually told me, he goes, I said, what do we got to do to keep my mother alive? And he's like, if you don't start treating your mother and showing her more love, attention, and respect as a family, I'm going to take her home. He didn't say heaven or hell. He said home.
Yes.
And that has always stuck with me. Always stuck with me.
Yeah. And so she's still here.
Yes. My mother probably, if we didn't follow that plan, my mother probably would have never met my son, who was born in 2013. She probably wouldn't have been able to do a lot of other things or seen a lot of other stuff.
Sure.
I mean, I'm very grateful that we followed the message, very grateful. And, I just couldn't imagine what it would be like. I'm one of the fortunate people. I'm in my mid 40s and I still have both my mom and dad. And I know I'm very fortunate in having that, because there's a lot of people who don't. But, it's just one of those things where, that scared me. It woke me up. It really did.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, well, that's good, because that's part of the life review that I was talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally get that now. Totally get that. All right, Lynn, you hold on, because we only got about 20 seconds here. Okay.
Okay. Yep. I'm fine.
I'm having fun with you tonight. Thank you.
Oh, good.
All right, here we go. All right, music's coming on. Music's on. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. Want to remind all of you that if you want to watch this show live or check out our free archives, all you got to do is go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button, thumbs up as well, if you don't mind. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including Rocky Got to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. It's all about the near-death study tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Researcher, expert in this field, Lynn K. Russell is our guest, and she's got a brand new book out. It is called The Wonder of You, What the Near-Death Experience Tells You About Yourself. Lynn, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
I cut you off.
I'm having fun.
I cut you off rudely right before the break as you were talking and breaking down what people experience and how that experience goes and how it differs from each individual. Did you want to continue with that, or should we move on?
Well, just let me finish with the life review, because that's important, and then we can move on.
Sure.
I just wanted to finish the part that when you do something that you maybe shouldn't have, and we all have done that, then some people get really down on themselves and they really become very angry at themselves. And then they'll be told, it's okay. This is just a learning experience. Everything's cool. So that's nice to hear. The other thing is that the only thing that matters is how we've treated others and treated, the other animals and, life, how we've treated things. And not so much the material and getting and your job and all that stuff they don't even care about. It's what kind of person you are. That's as much as I'll finish. I'm finished now.
Okay, for the people who experience black or darkness, why do they not see anything? Can we explain that? Do you have any explanation to that?
No, I don't. I wish I did, but it's just it's one of those just happens kind of thing. There may be an explanation that I just don't know.
Okay, so
the void. They call it the void.
Yes,
and it's just like the tunnel. And I really do think that we create it for ourselves, because we create the tunnel and we create everything else. So maybe we create the void.
See, to me, because I consider myself, even though I'm not a churchgoer, I do consider myself more of subscribing to the creationist type theory of the beginning of life and all that. But that's my opinion. I don't shove it down anybody's throat or anything like that. It's my way or the highway, nothing like that. However, I'm curious in regards to the darkness and there are reports out there of people having some sort of, I don't want to use the word evil, but malevolent type experiences that really haunt them through this entire ordeal. Yeah. What about those?
Okay. Just the void is not the same kind of darkness. There's no pain in that one. But the one that you're talking about, some kind of a hellish kind of or a negative experience.
Yes.
And yes, there are, of course, people who have that, and they are very painful and very frightening and just the biggest nightmare you could ever imagine. But two things, and I know this is very difficult, but there's 2 points to that. One is that when they ask to get out of there, when they call out and say, help me, get me out of here, they immediately are taken out. Immediately. If they call out for help, or they'll maybe say, pray to God, or they may. One fellow never went to church. He didn't have anything to do with religion for years and years and years. And so, but when he was in this hell place, he remembered Jesus Loves Me, the song. So he started singing that, and he was out. So sometimes they get out. Usually a guide comes along to help them out, usually. Sometimes it's a spiritual deity of some sort,
right?
That one that they believe in. It might be just a hand. They'll see a hand come out of nowhere and pull them out.
Right.
So, but they get out. But the big piece is, and this is the hard part that most people have a hard time with, when they ask about that, when they say, what was that all about? And what about hell? And so on. They are told repeatedly that that is something that they created for themselves because they thought that that's what they deserved.
That is interesting.
And there was one man who was going up through his tunnel. He was going through a tunnel, and it's not unusual for people to see other souls in the tunnel or to see doorways and peek in the doorways sometimes. But this particular fellow was going up, and he ran across some souls that were stuck in the tunnel. They didn't go anywhere. So he said, well, why aren't you going to the light? Because that's where he was going. And they said no, because their religious training had taught them that they weren't worthy. And to me, that is so painful. Imagine not being worthy of your own home.
Yeah, that would suck. That wouldn't be too friendly. That's for sure.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't like that whatsoever. All right, let's get to some questions here, Lynn, because they are starting to pile up, and we'd love to have the audience participation around here. Joey in the Spaced Out Radio SOR Space Travelers Club on our website is asking, has any studies... Oh, pardon me, that I missed that one. I already asked you that one. I believe there's another one here that I'm supposed to get to. Then again, maybe not. Maybe not. All right, I'll relook at that one while we're asking this one from Greco on YouTube. Is the soul and consciousness bonded together by the same vibration?
Yes, pretty much. Yeah, except when we're here, when the soul is here in this physical body, operating the body, it would be at a lower vibration than at the spirit level. That would be the only difference.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I found Joey's question now, and he is asking, has any studies been done comparing consciousness, e.g. EEG levels under surgery, anesthesia versus NDE subjects?
Oh, wouldn't that be interesting? No, it hasn't happened, but it should. That's a wonderful idea. I love that one. Yeah. No, what they have done, though, is that they've done studies with the with the consciousness and the brain, the EEG, and they have found that there's a signal or a message that comes into the brain 6 to 10 seconds before we even know what we're reacting to. Now, that varies because it depends on what we're reacting to. If it's very strong, like an accident or something, then the message would come very, right away. But if it may not come at all. No, wait a minute, that wouldn't be it. It comes, but we get this message ahead of time. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm not handling this very well. Let me try this. When we're driving and we all of a sudden hit the brake, we just know that we have to hit the brake, and there's no reason. There's nothing. That is that 6 second or however many seconds coming into the brain before we even know what's going to happen.
All right. Let's continue on here. Corey is asking, if the frequencies become out of sync, will that cause a problem between the soul and the body?
Well, the body is just a shell for the soul. The body doesn't have, the body would have the same vibration as the soul because the soul is the boss, I guess, if you want to put it that way. It really is the one that's taking control here and doing everything. And the personality and the body are just tools. It's the body is just what we when we die, our personality doesn't bring us back, nor does the ego. It's the soul that continues on. And the soul is the only vibration there is.
Where do you think the soul goes?
It goes to the experiences, the death experiences that we've been talking about.
So there is no heaven.
That's the soul. It's the soul that leaves the body. It's the soul that has the death experience. I mean, it's experienced as if it's a person because it is. We are soul. We are soul. We don't have a soul. We are soul, and the soul is what's operating this whole body.
Okay. So in that sense, just, and pardon my ignorance on this question, you're saying then that there would be no heaven, no, you're pretty much like a John Lennon song, imagine, right? We're all sitting here imagining that there is no nothing except the soul and us.
Okay. Now we get to our purpose. Why?
Right.
What is this all about? Okay. We are here because, how do I explain this? This is a little deep. The source, it's God. I'll use the word God because people are familiar and comfortable with that. So if God was all alone and there was nothing, the pain would be excruciating, because aloneness would be, we think we're lonely sometimes. This is, if you can imagine God being lonely, that would be very, very painful. And so the source creates us to have experiences to give back to the source, so that the source experiences different kinds of ways of being. And by the way, that includes worms and mouse and any other life form. So anyway, all life form everywhere. So when we live, as we live our lives, we are perpetually giving back to the source, to the Creator. And in that, and that's our soul. And that's why I call it a broadcast, that the source and the soul are connected constantly. There's never a time when they are not connected. And that is that 6-second thing. It's the source that is sending messages into the brain to warn us what's happening ahead of time. That's how I see it anyway.
Okay. I'm going to ask this again because... Sorry, go ahead. Finish up.
We are here to learn to love and to just enjoy life and be all that we can be.
All right, so I'm going to ask you this. I know I asked you this a few minutes ago, but I'm just a little hazy on the entire answer with it.
Okay.
So
if I can be better this time.
when we die, all right,
mm-hmm.
and let's say we don't come back, where do we go? Where does that spirit, that soul go? Does it go to a heaven? Does it go to another place to be remanufactured into a reincarnation, whether it's on this planet or a different planet? Where do we go? Do we just go flying through the universe and just say, hey, I'm going to go enjoy the sun over in this next universe over?
Okay. Understand that there is no time at the spirit level. Okay? So when we leave here, if we're staying there, we would enter into the light and become a part of the light. And that apparently is so magnificent that it can't be described. It's too beautiful. So, and I also should talk about suicide. I need to talk about suicide too. So it just remind me. So anyway, that's what happens to souls that are staying on the other side. However, we can choose to come back. And we do. We come back and we come back and we come back. There was one little guy, I think his name was Gaucho. Gaucho? I'm pretty sure it's Gaucho. I loved him. He was just a little devil. Anyway, and he said, well, I'm not going to come. Like when he knew he had to come back to Earth. And he said, next time I come here, I'm not coming back. And the angels told him, oh, you'll be back. You love this excitement of having a life. So for him, that was it. But yes, of course, there is reincarnation. But it's all one. And that's so hard to explain. It's all the same soul experiencing.
Okay, so, and this may be way off topic, and please excuse me if it is.
There's no bad questions in my book, none at all.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So now I won't feel like an idiot for asking this. But, no. I get confused with a lot of these people who talk about NDEs and after death and everything like that, where we say we sign a soul contract, because I'm pretty sure that I would not sign a soul contract to be a child laborer or to be murdered at the age of 14 or to be, or to be a young mother who passes away during childbirth or cancer that is untreatable in a teenager. I sure as hell wouldn't sign up for that. And, I think, I, as a believer in God, that is one question that I want to ask him as I get real philosophical here. Is cancer in children really, what is there really a purpose to that? Why would I sign up if there is this contract? I wouldn't sign up for that. It's like I wouldn't sign up to be a bug that is eaten by, certain animals like monkeys or centipedes or anything like that. I wouldn't sign up for that. I'm better than that, I would think.
That's right.
And yet here we are.
That's a wonderful question. I hope I can answer it. I know the answer. It's just to try and explain it so that you'll get what I'm saying.
Well, we have 4 minutes. We have 4 minutes before we go to break.
Okay, Dave, you're talking about Dave, this personality.
Yes.
And the soul is a completely different entity. The soul it does design a part of their life, not everything, and we need to talk about that too. But the soul does design the life before they come here. And they do know what's going to happen. Well, the soul knows. But of course, we have amnesia when we arrive here. And you're right. What the hell? It's crazy that we have accepted such a horrible existence. Like, for example, the people that are on the other side of the world in Syria and, things like that. It's just horrible. But that is something that is chosen. And the reason why it's chosen is to teach us. It's there for a lesson for us. Every single goal or job or whatever that a soul chooses before they come here is always for the good of the world. Always.
Well, I can't see how a child laborer in Africa who's working to the bones in China or in, Sudan or someplace like that, or the Congo, would be a good lesson to learn on being treated as a slave. I just, maybe I'm thinking way too humanly on this. I don't know, but I could tell you right now, what I would say if they wanted to put me in that is go blank yourself and blankety blank 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 off. Right?
Well, I can see that as a human being we would. That's probably one of the reasons why we have amnesia. But that child in Africa or India that is doing child labor, that child is not there to teach the child. It's there to teach the ones, us, you and I, us, the ones that aren't there. And the reason, and it's, okay, here's the thing. You know about that. What are you doing about it?
True.
What lessons are you learning about life and about you and about giving and about caring? From that, when you know about that.
But, I can also see the change in myself, too. I mean, I used to be able to watch certain television shows or certain movies or documentaries, and now I can't.
Yeah.
I can't because I am so disgustedly, affected by it. And much like probably the rest of the people kind out there, I feel disturbed that there is nothing I can do. I mean, me bringing it up on, and doing the year, the I'm offended BS that everybody pulls these days, it isn't worth it. Those are just hollow words.
Yeah. And so it takes more than one person, maybe. Maybe you need to start up something, you know. There was a boy, a teenager actually, who had a whole movement going against child labor. I remember him. But that's the kind of thing. They take it to, even if you don't start it, that you join something, that you take steps to join something that is fighting against that. Or fighting against, you know, and we can't fight against every single thing. So we choose our battles.
True. Very true. And on that note, Lynn, I'm going to get you to hold on because we are going to take a break here at the top of the hour. Lynn K. Russell is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We have her for another 30 minutes on the show, and we're going to get more into the near-death experience right after this. You can also check out Lynn's book. It is on Amazon. The Wonder of You, what the near-death experience tells you about about yourself. Yeah, let me try that again. The Wonder of You, what the near-death experience tells you about yourself. Get it right now. It's looking good on Goodreads, so check it on out. More Spaced Out Radio with Hour 3 coming up right after this. Lynn, I'm going to quickly run my dogs outside once again. I will be back in just a couple of minutes. I'm just going to put the commercials on to rest your voice for our YouTube crowd.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Works for me.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hey everyone, I'm John Edwards.
And I'm Stacey Edwards. Together, we're taking over Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio, where we're going to bring our own experiences of the paranormal and talk to the best people we can find to help bring you answers to your strange tales.
We're here to entertain your need for weekend woo! So tune us in at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, where we can all get a little spooky together.
Spaced Out Saturday nights right here at spacedoutradio.com.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hey, Space Travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives.
We've got about 3 minutes to showtime. 3 minutes. How you doing, Lynn?
Great. I'm good.
Good. Fantastic. Me too. Me too. I'm having a good time tonight. Thank you.
Oh, good.
My Vicks Vapo Rub is holding out, so I'm good. Never go wrong with that.
That sounds like a great idea. Maybe I'll get some.
Oh, I love Vicks Vapo Rub. Love it. Let's see here. I'm just cruising the chat rooms here. Hi, YouTube. Good to have you with us. I like Joey. Dave wants to sign a soul contract, come back and be on a Stanley Cup champion. As long as it's not the Toronto Maple Leafs, I'll be just fine. My God. I wonder how many, that's my curiosity. I wonder how many lifetimes I'm going to have before the Toronto Maple Leafs win another Stanley Cup. I hope it's a lot. I really hope it's a lot, because Lord knows my Vancouver Canucks will never win another one, or one at all. Vancouver hasn't won a Stanley Cup in over 100 years, just so you know.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
It's due. It's due.
Well, see, deep down, I'm a diehard Oilers fan.
Oh, I see.
So, yeah, that's me.
I like football. I'm a football person.
Don't tell me you're a Riders fan. Please don't tell me that, because
I'm actually a Tiger. I used to be a Tiger Cat cheerleader in my team. So
wow, yeah. Look at you, Lynn K. Russell, a Hamilton Tiger Cats cheerleader. Wow.
Yeah, so that's my team.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you. Fun. Good for you. How many years were you a cheerleader?
Oh, I was just for 1 year, and then I was too old after that.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
They had a range of, and it was very different than it is now, but it was fun.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Do you get if you go back to Hamilton to Ticat Stadium there? Do you get at least a free hot dog or something like that?
No acknowledgement at all.
Oh, that's terrible. Terrible. All right, my dear, hold on here. We're about to come back.
.com today.
All right, music's on.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on WQEE 99.1 FM in Newnan, Georgia, KZIX 94.9 FM in Bellingham, Washington, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans and in Reedsport, Oregon, KDUN AM 1030. On the digital side, we're proud to broadcast on Revolution Radio and Kingdom of Nye Radio. Remember, you can watch us live on YouTube or check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Acherophobia. Acarophobia is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. For the final time tonight, we introduce our guest, Lynn K. Russell, near-death experience author, and she's researched over 2,500 cases of NDEs. Lynn's latest book, we're going to read it to you, The Wonder of You, What the Near-Death Experience Tells You About Yourself. Lynn, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. Now, we've gone over a lot of these subjects tonight, from the dark to the light, and people seeing family members. The one that trips me out a lot, and I'm sure it scares a lot of people in the medical field, is when someone has an NDE and they're describing what the doctors are doing and the nurses are doing in the emergency room. How many times have you heard that story?
Oh, constantly. Yeah, that's almost a given. Some of them, if they died in the hospital, I mean, some people die other places, but yeah, if they're in the hospital, they definitely see everything that goes on, and they know who comes and goes from the room, and who is even what they're thinking, even what the doctors are thinking. Isn't that amazing?
Why does that happen?
The doctors are, yeah, I think it's great.
So when that does happen, okay, what obviously they report it to someone. Do the doctors, I know there are some doctors now who are relaying these stories or taking note of these stories because we've had them on the air,
right.
But are they doing it and keeping it quiet? Should they be working on it? What should they be doing?
Well, I think they need to be, I think that it's changing. I think a lot of doctors, because they are hearing so much about this, are starting to accept them more than they used to, certainly before, than they used to. But yeah, it's getting better, as you've mentioned before. So that's good, because then they can talk about it. But right now, it's sort of like seeing a UFO. If you're in the military or something, you don't tell anybody about it because, you'd lose your job or they'd be ostracized or something. So, I mean, that's the same kind of thing with doctors right now, is that they can't talk about it if they want to keep their job or, at least have the respect of the others. Some are stepping out and doing so, and I'm glad they do, and we need more of them.
So the ones that are stepping out, are they, how can I put this? Are they being ostracized? Are they being questioned? What's going on with those who are trying to step out and say, look, there is something happening here that we cannot explain, and we have to try and figure this out?
It depends on who they're speaking with. If they're speaking with other doctors, they have a chance of having their backs turned, and the doctors just go, yeah, what's with you? You're crazy, right? That's a chance. But as I say, more and more doctors are starting to accept that something is happening. I'm not sure they're accepting that it's death, but they are more willing to say that something that we're not seeing is happening because it's just too much. But those are the doctors that could make those that research that I talked about. Well, those are the doctors that could do that research and get the pieces together and find out, because we need that very much.
All right. So for people who are experiencing, and how come some have so much total recall of what happens and others struggle to try and find out what is going on?
And that we don't understand. That is something that just doesn't make sense. As I said before, some people will have an experience and remember everything one time that they've died, and another time they died, they don't remember anything. So I don't know the answer to that one myself, but they do. There was two parts of that question. I'm trying to remember the first part.
Well,
anyway,
more about the recall aspect of everything.
Yeah. There isn't an explanation that why one person. I will tell you that anybody who has had a death experience remembers it. They may not remember every detail because when we come back into the body, then it's amnesia again. So they may be aware that they knew everything, and that all that knowledge is gone. They may be aware that some secret, or they may know what it is that they were supposed to do when they come back because they haven't finished yet. But when they get here, they have no idea. Another thing that they lose is future knowledge. They'll know exactly what's going to happen with the future, but when they come, it's gone. So those are things that they do have amnesia about. I think it's probably because we could not function properly here in this existence if we had total knowledge of that existence. I think that we would yearn so much to be there that we couldn't function here. And that's why I also think reincarnation, we don't remember our past lives because we wouldn't be able to function properly in this life.
Let's go to our chat room here where Nick has a question. He is asking, if someone is on life support, are they bound to that body until it is shut off? And are they aware of you doing that?
Usually they're floating around either out of their body or they may even be having a death experience. And that actually was what happened with Ibn Alexander. He didn't physically die. He was in a very deep coma for a long time. And so it was while he was in the coma that he had this experience. And people who are in comas often have death experience or something very related to a death experience. So that's what happens with people who are, almost brain dead or they're on life support. Their soul is usually off and out of the body and experiencing.
Could you say
there must be some attachment though, because they know when somebody has come to visit them and talking to them, they know that. So there would be some kind of a connection there.
Megan, our favorite Marine around here, says or asks, can an NDE cause a soul transfer?
No. I know that's what that was asked a few minutes ago. The soul that belongs to this body stays with this body. I don't know about walk-ins. I'm really quite ignorant when it comes to walk-ins, so I don't have enough knowledge about them. But when it comes to death experiences, it's the same soul that returns to the body.
What about possession? Demonic possession.
Yeah, I'm not too. I don't know that I believe that, and I know that I don't want to interfere in other people's ways of thinking. So you're certainly very free to believe whatever you want. I don't think there is, because we are one, and that goes back to what I said right from the very beginning. That oneness is the bottom line. That's the very bottom line of our existence. And we are connected to the source. And I cannot see the source being evil.
I'm curious in regards to the idea that so many people are having these experiences from around the world. You know, I've also had a couple people ask in the chat rooms about pets. Can animals, such as pets or any animal in general, have a near-death experience? Have we seen that happen?
Well, I'm not sure about I'm not sure about a near-death thing. I guess if they have been resuscitated after death, it's possible, but we can't talk to them and find out. What I do know is that you do see your pets when you go there. I mean, there definitely people who have pets will see their loved, the pet they loved.
Right. All right. And that happens quite a bit. We've heard that many a times. On this show with everybody kind of, talking about, seeing their pets, their loved ones on the other side. So when someone comes back, how does this change their life? How have they been affected?
Well, there's a number of things that happen. Sometimes the world coming back here is such a shock that it takes them quite a while to readjust to being back into not only a physical body. There was one fellow named Larry. I remember that his first name was Larry. Anyway, when he came back, he just kept saying, nothing's real. Nothing's real. He would read a magazine and he'd say, it isn't real. And he'd watch a movie or he'd see something on TV. It doesn't matter. It's not real. He was having a terrible time adjusting back to being in this dream that we call life. So that's one of the things that happens is that we have another thing that happens is that they, as I said before, they're not material. They care less about the material. They understand that you have to have a food, shelter, clothing, and that kind of thing. You have to have your basic needs, but they're not into having or being famous or getting stuff. Another thing that happens is that some people come back with talents that they never had before, like musical talent. All of a sudden, there was one fellow, and he didn't really. I mean, I think he knew a little bit of music, but it wasn't anything worth, big time. Anyway, he fell asleep. After he came back, he fell asleep with his head on the piano. And when he came awake, he was able to write symphonies. And he's a musician now. And the same thing happens with other things. There was one girl, and she couldn't do math. She hated math at school, and she came back, and math was, so it's those kind of things. What else happens? They come back seeing the world in a different way, so that they care about others, and they really want so desperately to help others, and that is their bottom line. That most of what they do is to help others.
Megan, I'm going to explain this story because Megan has a follow-up to her question when she asked just a few minutes ago about personality changes or a soul transfer. She's asking, how would you explain personality changes after a coma? And then she explains, she says, my sister-in-law completely changed after a coma. She had no recall of her children or husband. She talked different with an accent that was unfamiliar to her. She swore her husband should be Jeff. There's no one in our family named Jeff.
Actually, that isn't to do with soul or with that's a brain injury kind of thing that's happened there. That's the brain, the physical brain, and it isn't related to death experience. I mean, she may have had a death experience, but the part about her brain, that's a brain function kind of issue. So it'd be medical.
So it wouldn't be any type of soul transfer or aliens invading or anything like that?
No. And she's not the only one that's come back with those kind of issues. And there's a word, and I can't remember it, but there is a name for people who all of a sudden have an accent that's not their own accent at all, but it's not uncommon. So it's not regular. It's not usual. We don't know. Most people don't, but it does happen. And that's a brain thing, not a soul thing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. It just sounds weird. Just weird. You know? And apparently, according to Megan, because she's typing live here as we speak, she goes, she goes, and Megan's very, very intuitive. She goes, I ran into her. She transferred from someone else that died, same time, same hospital. She was in coma for 8 weeks. She eats way different now, too. You know, like everything in this person changed. You know, I'm just wondering, I know you don't believe in it. I know you don't, but I'm just wondering if there was a little bit of a mix up there. You know, they didn't read the proper name cards on the hospital beds or something.
I can't go there because I don't have an answer for her, and I appreciate that that's what she thinks, and I respect that, and so that's where I'm at.
All right. Have you figured out in your book, The Wonder of You, what the near-death experience tells you about yourself? Have you figured out what life is, what we're supposed to be doing here? What is our purpose?
Yeah, we're supposed to be learning to love, having all kinds of fun, not being stressed and uptight like we are, and you know, work. We're here to give to the source. That's everything that we do. Everything goes back to source. Every single thing, good and bad. And because we're connected to the source, that's why when we go to the other side and we have our life review, we see everything because it's already there. It's there. And everything we do is connected.
Everything. Interesting.
Yes. It's what my book does. My book talks about death experiences and, of course, and all the kind of things that we've been talking about, and the universal things that happen like telepathy and travel by thought and so on. I also talk about consciousness and experiments and work that has been done to show that we are way more than just human beings. That sort of like to prove our spirituality through science.
All right. So as we only have about 2.5 minutes left with you tonight, the challenge for all of us is trying to believe that there is something more out there. You are 100% convinced through the cases that you have read up on and the people whom you have studied. You know, have people that you have studied had multiple examples of this happening, and were they different?
Yes, actually, there are some people that have died many times because they have an allergy or they have some kind of medical issue that, you know, keeps coming back on them. And so they've died a number of times. And yes, they do have different experiences sometimes. Sometimes they're almost the same. Damien Brinkley had 2 experiences. And he says his were about the same each time, whereas other people have completely different experiences each time. So I think it's just the learning.
Learning from different messages?
No, they've already learned the lesson that they needed to learn, the first death experience that they had. So they don't need to learn that lesson again. So now they may be learning something quite different in the next experience, or they may go deeper, because most people don't go very deep with a death experience. You don't go very deep. As I said, you have your life review, and then usually after that you're sent back because you haven't finished what you're supposed to do. But they don't go very deep, and they still maintain that they have a physical body, where in reality they left their body back there, and they've created in their own mind, they've created this ethereal body that is physical, that appears physical, and they do physical things, and they go to physical places, but that's a myth. That's a dream that we create because that's what we're familiar with.
I want to say thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight, Lynn. It's been a couple of years since we had you on the radio. You were a real trooper tonight, considering you were going through a voice and a throat cold. I really appreciate you doing that. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. And I feel a little bad that I was stumbling over some of my answers, and I hope that everybody learned and understood. And the big message that I want to pass on is how marvelous you really are. You're all so beautiful.
Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you.
You're
Really appreciate that. Good night to you.
Okay.
Lynn K. Russell,
Good night.
everybody, on Spaced Out Radio. Don't forget her book, which can be found on Amazon. The Wonder of You, What the Near-Death Experience Tells You About Yourself. Go get it today. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day. Stay tuned. Thank you, Lynn.
Oh, thank you.
You were amazing tonight.
Oh, wonderful. I was wondering about, as I said, stumbling over some of my answers. I just couldn't get the words out.
That's okay.
So,
we love you. We love you, and we'll do it again. I promise you.
All right.
Take care.
And maybe I'll have a good voice then.
Awesome.
All right.
Take care,
Talk
hon.
to you later.
Okay, good night.
Bye-bye.
I like her. Good Canadian kid. I like her. All right. I think I sent that to the right place. Yes. Hope you guys enjoyed that too on YouTube. Want to remind you, we got 40 people watching right now. Thank you so much for tuning on into Spaced Out Radio tonight. Want to remind you that in case you're interested, the Super Chat is open as well. A great way to support Spaced Out Radio is by going to our website, spacedoutradio.com. Click on the SOR Vault, grab yourself a t-shirt, a hoodie. You can get some socks, towels, bags, cell phone covers, you name it. We got it there. We'd love for you to be able to support us that way. That way you get something in return as well. You guys have been absolutely awesome in the way you've been supporting this YouTube channel. With the amount of people we have in here, and this is really, it's our first full week. Tomorrow will be the start of week number 2 that we've been doing this YouTube stuff. And I think you guys are enjoying it. I think, I'm still getting used to it. I'm still getting, because once again, I have a face for radio. I don't have a face for video. I can admit that. All right. And I think it's absolutely awesome that all of you are tuning in and have this much interest, not only in the show, but you can also check out kind of what we do. Eventually, once we get more settled into this, I do plan on getting like back there some sort of green screen. I'll move the camera back and change the angles so that way we could get a little bit more technical. And I am going to try and figure out a system here as we're maintaining and moving our boards away. We are going to be, making some changes where maybe we'll get the guest on, do full video. I don't know. I really don't. I got some interesting news for all of you YouTubers out there, too. I'm kind of excited about this. At the beginning of April, we're going to have a brand new station announcement. Our first terrestrial station in Canada. It is coming. It is coming. And I'm excited. I'm very excited. I got the email today. I got to do a bunch of promo cuts and promotional interviews. They want to totally set it up. They're very excited. And I'm just pumped up. We just added KZAX in Bellingham. We're going to be adding this one, and I think we got one more to be adding here very, very soon down in Arizona. I'm not going to say where just yet, but we are growing. We are growing. Leah, you're way too kind. You are way too kind. So let me ask you this. If I went like this, showing off my Tim Hortons ice cap, does the picture look the same? I don't know. So we'll see. We will see. Lots of good people in here. Hey. Why are people so paranoid about the coronavirus, Spaced Out Radio? I have no idea. I have no idea. Right? I'll tell you, though, I would love to have shares in toilet paper right now. Believe you me, I would love to have shares in toilet paper. Because, you know, wiping your ass is going to prevent the coronavirus. It's not washing your hands. It's not putting a mask over your face if you're that paranoid about it. No, it's your ass you're worried about. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Why do people think there's going to be Armageddon over the coronavirus? Because there's no toilet paper left. Everybody's bought the friggin' toilet paper. My God. The paranoia on the toilet paper is huge right now. Huge! Leave the butt wipe alone. The butt wipe is innocent. Yes, Chris Bledsoe coming up on April 13th. That's a Monday night. I am very excited about this because we are one of the few shows, very few, that Chris wants to do. Yeah, very few shows. So that is pretty awesome. That, you know, and I got to meet him and hang out with him, and we did dinner one night. He's a great guy. You know, he doesn't want any of this. See, you know, with a lot of people who, you know, and he's got his set of detractors, okay? He really does. But what a lot of people don't understand is this guy doesn't want this. He wants his normal life back. He wants his friends back, the family that's abandoned him. That's what he wants. And for people to sit there and call him a liar and this, he got kicked out of his own church because of this. He was a deacon at his own church. You know? It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. It's not his fault. Excuse me, I'm going to quickly blow my nose. Sorry about that. I know you didn't have to hear that or want to hear that. But the news is coming up, and last thing I need is a throat tickle. All right, let's do this whole news thing.
It's spacedoutradio.com.
Spacedoutradio.com. I love it. All right, here we go. Music's on. You hear that? Look at that. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Great to have each and every one of you with us. Want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or you want to watch us live, you go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button and give us a few thumbs up if you don't mind. I like them thumbs up. They work for me. Also, our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. We got a bunch more stuff on there that you should peruse through. So head on over to our website and check it all out. All right. So for our listeners on YouTube who are firing me a bunch of questions right now, hold on to those, because after we are done the live show on radio, we'll be in our YouTube room for about half an hour more, usually, give or take a couple of minutes, and that's where we will hang on out. I'll answer your questions then. Speaking of the news, Let's get to it, shall we? The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the wacky, and the sometimes brazen. How's this for ballsy? Police in Chile are searching for members of an armed gang who stole a cash shipment worth about $15 million from a warehouse at Santiago Airport. At least 7 men entered the cargo area of the airport where the cash was stored and forced the security guards to hand the money over at gunpoint. They used 2 vehicles, one painted in the colors and with the logo of Courier DHL. Police say they suspect the gang had inside information. The cash shipments of dollars and euros had arrived from abroad shortly before the robbery and was due to be taken to banks in Chile. An airport security guard was injured after receiving a blow to the head. One of the vans used in the robbery was later found abandoned and partially burned. Police said it's not belonging to the courier company DHL, but had been painted to look like it did. It's not the first time a multi-million-dollar sum has been stolen from the Arturo Minero Benitez airport. In 2014, a gang of 9 men stole a cash shipment worth $10 million. Following the robbery, the airport security chief at the time was fired. Yeah, go figure. Go figure. Oh, I hate this. This story's going to piss me off. I'm going to be absolutely blunt with you. I'm going to get upset with this one. 2 extremely rare white giraffes have been killed by poachers in northeastern Kenya, conservationists say. I don't get it. Rangers found the carcasses of the female and her calf in a village in northeastern Kenya's Garissa County. A 3rd white giraffe is still alive. It is thought to be the only one remaining in the world, the conservationists added. Their white appearance is due to a rare condition called leucism, which causes skin cells to have no pigmentation. News of the white giraffes spread around the world after they were photographed in 2017. The manager of the Ishakabini Hirola Community Conservancy, Mohammed Amadur, said the 2 giraffes were spotted last more than 3 months ago. This is a very sad day for the community of Ijara and Kenya as a whole. We are the only community in the world who are custodians of the white giraffe. Its killing is a blow to the tremendous steps taken by the community to conserve rare and unique species, and a wake-up call for continued support to conservation efforts. The poachers have not yet been identified, and their motive is still unclear. The Kenya Wildlife Society, the main conservation body in the East African state, said it was investigating the killings. The conservancy is in a vast, unfenced area. There are also villages within that conservancy. White giraffes were first spotted in Kenya in March in 2016, about 2 months after a sighting in a neighboring Tanzania, the conservancy says. Some 40% of the giraffe population has disappeared in the last 30 years, and poaching for meat and skin continues, according to the Africa Wildlife Foundation. The population went from around 155,000 animals in 1985 to 97,000 in 2015, according to the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. You know, I'm all for hunting. I really am. I have friends who hunt. They hunt for meat. They hunt for food. All right? There is no need for trophy hunting. None at all. Okay? The only reason why you're a trophy hunter is because you're a jerk and you're arrogant, and I can't use the word that I want to use. I really can't. All right? I am all for hunting. Don't get me wrong. All right? If you're doing it for the right reasons, you want to feed your family, that's a pretty good reason to hunt. But if you're out there just to get the skin of a lion or an elephant tusk or something like that, there's no need for you. You need to be hunted. You need to be hunted. Drives me nuts. Sorry. I'm not a big tree hugger kind of guy, but there's certain things that piss me off. And it's just common sense. If there's only 3 left on the planet, You don't take two of them, especially if one's a baby and one's a female. Moronic. Absolutely moronic. We should all be upset by that. A Tennessee zoo announced DNA testing on a trio of Komodo dragon siblings revealed their mother had laid their fertilized eggs without any help from a male. The Chattanooga Zoo in Tennessee said female Komodo dragon Charlie had laid the eggs that produced brothers Onyx, Jasper, and Flint in August after being placed together with male Komodo dragon Kadal. The zoo staff said they were never able to confirm any instances Charlie and Kadal were breeding, so they conducted a DNA test and discovered Kadal wasn't involved with the reproduction process at all. The triplets were conceived through a process called parthenogenesis, which was first observed in Komodo dragons in 2006. The process involves a polar body producing during the making of an egg cell that contains a duplicate copy of egg DNA. Scientists say the polar body normally shrivels and disappears after being created, but can sometimes act as a sperm in Komodo dragons and fertilize their eggs. Only male babies can produce via parthenogenesis, scientists said, though. That's kind of weird. Kind of weird. I don't get it. Okay. Moving on. Still trying to get that figured out. Here we go. Most fish are broadcast spawners, casting their eggs and sperm in clouds and leaving their young to develop alone, but a tiny minority, about 2%, are called mouth breeders. Sounds disgusting to me, keeping their fertilized eggs and sometimes hatchlings protected in their mouths. Now a study reveals the first fish known from the deep sea to mouth brood, researchers report. In 2015, Randy Singer, I'm not even pronouncing his title, ichthyologist, now at the University of Michigan Museum of Zoology in Ann Arbor, was identifying fish spotted by a remotely operated underwater vehicle for the United States National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Explorer ship. A red glinting fish flashed by the camera was some 500 meters deep near Puerto Rico. They later identified the fish as a parasin, a poorly known species found in the deep West Atlantic and West Pacific. Upon learning about parasin's disjointed range, Singer suspected these fish were actually multiple species, not just single species. Oh my God. He started examining and comparing them. Well, apparently they take care of their young and their eggs inside their mouths. Yeah, isn't that cool? I always wonder about animals like that. Like, how do you not accidentally swallow one? How do you not swallow one? Anyways, for Singer, this discovery shows that there are a greater diversity of reproductive strategies in the deep than we have appreciated in the past, but scientists are on the cusp of unveiling far more about how fishes have adapted to deep sea living. We're kind of in a renaissance for deep sea exploration right now, Singer says. I would expect people to see many more new discoveries coming rapidly in the future. Isn't that nice? Keep your pants on if you're going to Antarctica or the Arctic Ocean. So that's Antarctica. Yeah, the Arctic. Northern Canada. Let's just call it that. So when people hear the word chlamydia, they usually think about an STD. And it's true that the specific bacteria causes chlamydia typically depends on interactions with other organisms to survive. So when a team of researchers discovered several new chlamydia-related species deep below the Arctic Ocean, in a place with no oxygen and without an apparent host organism, they were pretty surprised. Finding chlamydia in this environment was completely unexpected and, of course, begged the question, what on earth were they doing here? Said Jenna Darmashi, a PhD student at Uppsala University in Sweden and the lead author of a recent study. The findings, published in Current Biology, could shed new light on how chlamydia came to infect humans and other animals. Yeah, they came across a number of diverse cousins of chlamydia from 0.1 to 9.4 meters below the seafloor and found that the new species were closely related to the bacteria that cause infections in humans and other animals. I don't know. This totally sounds disgusting to me. Anyways, finding that chlamydia, because, we all go searching for it. Where's the clam? Where's the clam? Anyways, Finding that chlamydia have marine sediment relatives has given us new insights into how chlamydial pathogens evolved. A team of international researchers made the discovery by collecting samples during a visit to Loki's Castle, a field of hydrothermal vents in the Arctic Ocean between Greenland, Iceland, and Norway. Yeah, what makes this discovery particularly interesting, scientists said, is the environment in which they were found. At a level so deep beneath the ocean's surface, there's almost no oxygen and extremely high pressure. But researchers say they found that a new species of bacteria were exceptionally abundant in this part of the ocean. In some cases, they were even the dominant bacteria. That could suggest that chlamydia and related bacteria play a much bigger role in marine ecology than previously known. Isn't that good? The ocean has STDs. Fantastic. What's next? A gonorrhea fish? Oh, wow. All right. If you are sick of Greta Thunberg, get ready for Finley Pringle. This young lad has now objected to the first vertical launch spaceport planned for the Scottish Highlands, saying it will destroy habitats. Pringle, who shot to fame in 2018 for telling Bear Grylls he sucks over a shark diving experience, has lodged a formal protest over the £17.3 million development. The port is due to be built in Sutherland on the Moyne Peninsula, southeast of Tongue, in the far north of Scotland. The 12-year-old from Wester Ross told Highland Council the spaceport would be best sited close to Europe's largest peat bog, a potential UNESCO World Heritage Site. In time, up to 12 launches a year could be made from Sutherland, carrying small commercial satellites that will typically be used for Earth observation. Pringle, though, in his 12 wise years, has been dubbed Scotland's leading young environmentalist by the likes of Wildlife TV presenter Chris Packham and campaigner Greta Thunberg. He said in a letter to council, the spaceport site is close to a special area of conservation, special protection area, Ramsar site, and also 3 SSI designations for rare plants and animals. In this unique area, they are proposing for a spaceport for space tourism and to launch satellites for research we don't need, such as a study to climate change. He claims that the spaceport will release up to 950 tons of CO2 in the air, saying to expel that much CO2 launching research satellites is wrong. How backward is that? We already have more than enough information about climate change to know that we would only have 10 years left to reduce our carbon dioxide levels. No more study is required. Just like Y2K. We were going to end then. Yeah, remember that? Y2K. Anyhow, he goes on to say, we just need governments and councils to listen to the science and take proper, meaningful action on the climate emergencies they have declared. A number of other objections have been raised to the spaceport plans, with just 88 of 300 comments on the planning application in favor of the development. Melanie Crofter's estate, who owned the earmarked site, and local community councils have backed the scheme but haven't done so lightly. We want to ensure that the environment was protected and safely insured, wrote Dorothy Pritchard, chairperson of MCE. There is a balance to be struck between environmental issues versus employment. MCE negotiated hard to ensure that our land is protected now and in the future. MCE will receive income from the spaceport and says funding will go back into the whole community. And it intended to set up a charitable fund to help local projects. It said protesters who had run a sustained vociferous campaign had misrepresented the spaceport and the intentions of MCE. The facility could compromise a launch control center, a single launch pad, and an associated infrastructure. These would allow roadways, fuel storage, office premise, and antennas. A temporary lightning tower would also be installed at the launch pad around flight days, with about 12 expected per year. Yeah. So here we got another one. Where's our time? I think we got time for one more. All right. InfoWars founder and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones was arrested on early Tuesday morning in Texas for driving drunk. The Travis County Jail in Austin confirmed that Jones was charged with DWI, a Class B misdemeanor. Authorities said he was booked at 12:37 a.m. and was later released at 4:11 a.m. on a personal recognizance bond. Bail was set at $3,000. Jones addressed the arrest on his show, where he claimed that he was innocent and shared an apparent copy of his breathalyzer showing at 0.076 and at 0.079 alcohol level, which is described as likely one beer, basically. InfoWars did not immediately respond for comment. The far right-wing radio host has many conspiracy theories that have gone viral, that is, vile to some, including the claim that Sandy Hook massacre was a hoax, a claim he later conceded was false after the victims' families sued Alex Jones. Let's get to the thought of the day, shall we? Does Alex Jones ever take blame for anything? Think about that. When's the last time you heard him say, "It's my fault"? Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. It's Chuck Norris's 80th birthday. What is the best Chuck Norris legend you've heard? All right. Tony, Chuck Norris had a part in all Star Wars movies. He was the Force. All right, John. The fight scene between him and David Carradine and Lone Wolf McQuade is pretty legendary. Anyways, Bobby. It's impossible for Chuck Norris to be 80 because he's Chuck Norris. Joe, Chuck Norris built the hospital he was born in. Then he drove his mom home the next day. VE, Chuck Norris threw some rice out of an airplane and the rice landed. The people who collected it were able to start restaurants. Mike, Chuck Norris doesn't age in this world. The world ages around Chuck Norris. Jeff, once a cobra bit Chuck Norris's leg. After 5 days of excruciating pain, the cobra died. Kevin, Chuck is so tough that he has a third fist that will pop out of his beard and knock you out. Dale, there is nothing to fear except Chuck Norris himself. Kim, Chuck Norris once shot down a German fighter plane with his finger by yelling, "Bang!" Ron, he doesn't use a toilet. The crap knows it has to leave on its own. Scott, when the boogeyman goes to bed, he checks underneath his bed for Chuck Norris. David, Chuck Norris doesn't wear sunblock. The sun wears Chuck block. Oh, that's nice. Michael, Jesus could walk on water. Chuck Norris can swim through land. Boom. Chuck doesn't do push-ups. He pushes the earth away from himself. Chuck Norris is what Willis was talking about. Oh, that's strong. That is strong. Bill, Chuck Norris now spends his days traveling the world, killing people who question his past exploits. And finally, Corey, Chuck Norris once orgasmed on a truck seat. That truck is now called Optimus Prime. Wow. Thank you to everybody taking part in today's Thought of the Day. Good to have some fun with it. We'll do it again on Twitter and Facebook tomorrow. We'll try and read your responses as well. Big thanks to Captain Shirk for getting all of our news together for the SOR Newswire. What a great job, Captain. You can find all our news at spacedoutradio.com. Just click on the news tabs. It's all right there. And a big thank you to Lynn K. Russell for coming on Spaced Out Radio, breaking down all of the NDE experiences. I'll tell you, that is one that I would not want to have. I don't want that experience. I really don't. I really don't. And yes, I do have cough drops. All right, we got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. In our chat rooms on Revolution Radio, Spreaker, LGAB, Facebook, the SOR Space Travelers Club on our website, YouTube, hi YouTube, and all the snarkers and snarkettes hanging out at Spaced Out Radio on Twitter. Yeah, that's hashtag Spaced Out Radio to all of you. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for sharing your evening with us, because together, my friends, say it with me, we own the night, Mr. Bumblefoot. We need a favor. We need you to take us home. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Have a great night, everybody. We're going to do this all again tomorrow, so I hope you come back and join us. Have a great night. See ya. Bye-bye. Hey, 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 da-na-na-na. Hey, 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 da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na. Turn that off. I actually forgot that all of you guys were there on YouTube there for a second. So don't mind me. Now you kind of know what I do behind the scenes. Aji or Age. Yes, I know I have cough drops, and but I'm just getting over this stupid cold. Stupid cold. So I apologize. I really do. I can't wait to get over this cough. Turn that off. All right. Say goodnight to everybody. All right. I'm actually kind of excited about this radio station here. Yeah, I'm very excited. Very excited. All right. Just let me say my thank yous and good nights. And we'll close that out. Close that one out. Close that one out. All right. And Twitter. All right. So there you go. There you go. Now we're done. We are done. Now I'm all yours, YouTube. Hey, Vinny. Thank you so much, man. Nice super chat. $1.99. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. I'm going to move this over here so I can actually see the chat now. Actually, I can actually open up another window here so that way I can keep that here. And what is this? Where am I? I don't know where I am. Going to YouTube. Oh, yeah, there we are. Live now. And I got a commercial to start my show. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? There we go. I guess that's why I have it monetized. All right. I will not take oil over oregano. That tastes like shit. Tastes like shit big time. Oh, it's terrible. Hello, Jeannie Deer Healer. Why can't I say that? Jeannie Deer Healer. I want to say Deal Healer. I don't know. Leah, I put Vicks on my feet every night. I put Vicks on my feet every night. See, what happens is, as I get over this old radio thing that I learned. is what happens is, you're using your throat. You're using your throat. And that my throat is my job, right? So, get ad block and unblock Dave. No ads. Well, I really can't. You know what I'm saying? I really can't. I did take a couple of NyQuil. So, yeah. Well, not NyQuil, Dayquil. Because if I was taking NyQuil, I would be out tonight. I would be like sleeping right now. But yeah, I'm almost over it. Happens every time of this year. Every time of this year, it just does. All right. There were a bunch of questions here earlier. Let me see if I can find some. Who is on tomorrow? We got Chris Cogswell and William Pullen for Reality Paranormal, which reminds me I should probably message them. I think I forgot to. All right. All right, there we go. There we go. All right. My brother is a werewolf, not by choice. That would make you a little werewolf. Maybe a dog man. Maybe. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. How are you, Sandra? Regular show is over. This side is fun after hour show. Yes, that's what we try and do around here is we try to have fun. We try to have fun. That's what we do. My Canucks won tonight. I'm all excited about that. Are there any archaeologists as guests? I'm not big into archaeology. I'm not big into it. The whole Oak Island thing, I feel like I'm on my own little island where I just don't care. I know it's important to a lot of people. They love that show. They got great ratings. So whatever they're doing is great. The whole ancient archaeology thing, honestly, it doesn't interest me. And, it's funny because Corey and I have had this talk. And when he signed up to do our bookings for our guests, and that was actually one of the topics I said I have no interest in talking about. I know a lot of you will do it. A lot of you will want to check it on out and want me to go down, and maybe I will at some point. But for me, it is more about the experience people are having with the strange and unknown. That's what really, really gets me going. That's what I want to bring to you guys. I want to bring back, not to try and fall on his name like so many other hosts have, but I want to go back to the 90s where, Art Bell was scaring the crap out of us each and every night. Paranormal photographers we can look into. Corey, I know you're listening. So I booked April 16th tonight. Zion Zeta. Yeah, I haven't had her on in a while. We should take a look at getting her back on. Yeah, Corey, remind me about Zion because she likes me. So I can take care of that one. I think I might actually shave tomorrow too. I think I may have a shave. I do look like a werewolf. I do. Anyways, April 16th, Corey, that's a Thursday night. I booked Mike Brown from the Dark Poutine podcast. So make sure you get that. Vinny, have you ever been halfway through an interview and thought this guest is BSing? Oh, yeah. Yes, I have. I won't say the name, mainly because I forget it, but there was this gentleman who believed he was being, I brought him on to talk about the Men in Black, and the stories he was making up were just, honestly, like, my 6-year-old could make up better stories than what this guy was presenting. Yeah. So, so to all, hold on. All right. Sorry about that. And go from there. And so this guy was absolutely full of crap. And, we call them in this business one and done. One and done. That's, look, with our show, it's very, very easy to get guests. And what I'm trying to do is I want to bring those. I've had more success out of bringing in those people who are lesser known. They give better interviews. They're not as contrived. They're not as media savvy, but some of them can be just fucking duds. Okay. They really can. And it's unfortunate at times, but it does happen. And so when we go find these new guests who say have never been on a radio show, or sometimes they're nervous, sometimes they are people who just aren't used to it. They give like the 5-word answers or anything like that. And, it's something that we try and battle. We'll always battle that. I mean, look, it's great to get the Richard Dolans, the Grant Camerons of the world. Those guys are fantastic. We're trying for bigger names as well. I would love to get Dan Aykroyd on. I would love to get Billy Corgan on. I would love to get Sammy Hagar on the show. And they just, they're not looking to do that right now. They're looking to make money off of what they're doing, and I don't blame them. I really don't. My ice cap. Micah Hanks will be back on the show. He'll be back on, actually, 2 weeks from tonight. 2 weeks from tonight. He'll be on. So, anyways, I want to continue down that route because there's some great stories out there that nobody is finding. And that's the fun part, is trying to find these really, really cool stories that are out there that nobody else has. And that's what we're trying to do. I mean, you got to realize, like, if you get someone who has been on, they got a brand new book out and they're doing the tour and they've been on like 15 different shows in the last 2 months, just, hooring out their product. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because if I had a book or some sort of study coming out, I would do the exact same thing too. Okay. But when you get all of the, this added together, there's somebody out there who's, I think of Craig Jaycox. Okay. Now, this is a gentleman. The guy is eloquent as anything. Jaycox is spelled Jacocks. Okay. And this guy is elegant as anything when he speaks, talking about his his alien abduction experiences. And he's phenomenal. Very few people have even heard about him. Very few people have. And it's one of those things where when you look at it, that's the story I want to present. Time travelers, that's something that we got to get into. We don't do enough about time travelers, but I mean, trying to find the right ones is difficult. It's very difficult. I tried for Lorraine Warren, Jeannie, could not get her. By the way, thank you for staying up late. I know it's 3:12 a.m. your time. I really appreciate that. Tracy Twyman, I am not familiar with that. I apologize. Okay, so I have a brother who could see creatures that no one else can really see. How's that sound? I know people like that too. Doesn't hurt to believe them. Because sometimes you get in there. Obscure cases, Greco? Absolutely. Those are the cool ones. Those are the real cool ones. Right? Those are the real cool ones. All right. What else you guys want to talk about? Hold on. I'm just going to step outside. I got to blow my nose. Bear with me. All right. There we go. There we go. Excuse me. Ever had David A. Jacobs on? Not sure if he's still around. No, I have not. I've not had him. I have not. I have not. Anybody a football fan out there? Apparently, Ron Gronkowski has signed a deal with the WWE. All right. Can you find any more overseas stories? We are looking. Well, we have Susan Hansen talking UFOs in New Zealand on Friday. The Europeans are tough, and it's because of the whole Skype schedule and the time schedule, especially for the time we broadcast. We'll do our best. We do get a few. Yeah, we do get a few. What about the guy who found a NASA photo of the pyramids that was 3D and had alien messages on it? Wasn't that Ken Cherry? We had him on a while ago. Long time ago. Hey, good night, Clam. Thanks for the password. I could actually pronounce it tonight. I appreciate that. Still got like 40 people here. Cool. Where are y'all at? Are y'all in the chat room? Y'all in the chat room? Do. Once again, get a lot of people asking about our theme song. It is Little Brother Is Watching by Ron Bumblefoot Thal, formerly of Guns N' Roses, current lead guitarist of Sons of Apollo. If you want to check them on out, they're pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Check it on out. Yeah. I feel good. I knew that I would now. I feel good. Turn off my TV here. There we go. Gets a little darker in here. Do I believe you that you're a time traveler? Time travelers don't use the word bruh. So no. Sorry, but. Sorry. I may be gullible, but not that gullible. Let's see. What else do we got? What else do we got? I got a dead battery here. See? Dead battery. Had to change one in the mouse tonight. Yes, please give Dave a thumbs up. Please, we'd like a thumbs up. For every thumbs up Dave gets, an electric bidet shock. I don't have a bidet. Don't have a bidet. I want to know who gave me the thumbs down. I wish it showed me who gave me the thumbs down. Oh, I accidentally gave myself a thumbs down. We passed 7,200 followers on YouTube. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Gained 128 people in the last 28 days. That is friggin' awesome. Friggin' awesome. What's the story trending on Twitter about Oscar Fantenberg? Let's see here. Well, the Canucks beat the Islanders. 5-4 shootout win. Oh, Oscar Fantenberg was a -3 tonight. Oh, and Chris Tanev was injured. About time Thatcher Demko came through and got a win. I don't know. All right, what does that say? Dave, hook up a machine that for every thumbs up you get an electric shock, it would cause the thumbs up to skyrocket. No, I'm not doing that. Why does pain always have to be enthralled on me? No, I didn't try psychically charging the battery, Nick. You're still using the word bruh. Nobody uses the word bruh who's from the 60s and 70s or the future. Gee whiz, Aggie, or Odge, or Age, or however you want to pronounce that. I don't know how you want to pronounce that. I don't know. Hey, Philip. Didn't get a chance to say aloha to you earlier, my friend. How are you? Vinny. Love a good Vinny. Love me a good Vinny. All right. We got about a few more minutes. If you guys have any more questions, I'll be willing to ask them or answer them. If not, I'm going to seal this thing up, and we are going to call it the night until tomorrow. You know, that's just the way it is. I feel fat. Feel fat right now. And I need to get my fat sleep. I need to get my fat sleep. Yeah, I need to get it. Yeah, I'm kidding. Who am I kidding right now? Who am I kidding? I do need a shave, though. I will shave before tomorrow's show. That I will do. That I will do is I will take a shave tomorrow. All right. Mystery Booms. I think we are working on that one right now. Stu, Bumblefoot really is a hell of a player. I really like the bumper Never Again. Richie Hughes, yeah, that's a fantastic song. My favorite Bumblefoot song is one called Glad to Be Here. I would use it as my theme song, but there's a few swear words in it. But totally like my type of song. Makes me laugh every time I hear it. And he's got some great, great music. Fantastic music. And, his album Little Brother is Watching has some great music. Cuterebra, Never Again, Living the Dream, Higher is fantastic. Women Rule the World, it's fantastic as well. Everything's fantastic. I'm a big fan of his. Hey, Vinny, have a good night. Thank you for tuning us in, man. Appreciate that. All right, Philip, you and Walter Bosley have a mutual friend in Olaf Phillips. Yes. Walter and I have talked. I'm trying to convince him to come on the show. He's just a little concerned about the time because he gets up really early in the morning, and we're working on that. We are working on that. All right. How about Metallica? Come on, Seek and Destroy. Remember, it always starts off, all right. That way, see, if I say it, I'm not going to get hit by YouTube for saying it. Jeannie, there was one you played when you went to the bathroom I loved. Oh, that would have been probably Cuterebra. Hold on. Do 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 do. Hold on. I think I got it here. This one? Hold on. Here's my favorite.
Fuck! I'm so glad to be here. I could slit my fucking wrist. This chaos is just what I need to keep me nice and pissed. My chest fills up with acid till the veins pop in my head. I wake up every morning wishing God would strike me dead. But when the world looks at me, they see some other guy. It doesn't matter what I say, they all made up their minds. I didn't like it then, and I still don't like it now. I find the strength to smile somehow and say,
I'm so glad to be here.
I could jump off every bridge, but everybody's got a rope around one of my limbs. They're trying to get their piece, they keep on tearing me apart. They want to get inside me so they can kick around my heart. But when the world looks at me, they see some other guy. It doesn't matter what I say, they all made up their minds. I didn't like it then, and I still don't like it now. I find the strength to smile somehow and say, I'm so glad to be here. I'm really glad to be here.
Everybody, I'm so glad to be here. I was really very glad to be here. Anyways, love that song. Love that song. That one makes me happy. That's my favorite one. And if you go on YouTube, go to the Bumblefoot channel and watch him play the Pink Panther theme song. It's phenomenal. Does an incredible version of that. Incredible version. When I first asked him about our theme song, I was asking him about if I could use the Pink Panther theme song. And I couldn't because Warner Brothers owns the rights to that. I would have had to go through Warner Brothers. So that's where he recommended Little Brother is Watching and Women Rule the World. And I actually started with Women Rule the World because it has more of like a real Star Trek type theme to it. But I later changed it to Little Brother is Watching because it just seemed to be more like me and who I am. So, yeah. That is kind of cool. But we only got a couple minutes here before we're going to wrap it up for tonight. And you guys have been phenomenal. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Really do. And thank you for the super chat donation as well, Mr. Vinny Barbarino. I appreciate that. And yeah. Tomorrow night, Chris and William. There's not going to be much woo tomorrow night. Chris and William are kind of anti-woo, but that's okay. You know, we got to have that every now and again. We got 35 current viewers, 35 likes. That is awesome. That is just awesome. You know, apparently the more I'm trying to figure out this whole YouTube thing because I really, really do not understand it. And apparently the more likes we get, the more the show kind of gets promoted and gets spread around more. So that's why the likes are very important, I guess. I'll have to do some studying on it. I will have to do some studying on it. But remember, if you have any guest suggestions, just email Corey at bookings@spacedoutradio.net. Tomorrow night, Chris Cogswell, William Pullen for Reality Paranormal. 9:06, or we'll start on YouTube at 9 o'clock Pacific, midnight Eastern. We'll go till 3 a.m. Eastern and midnight Pacific. So that'll be cool. But I want to say that I honestly do appreciate each and every one of you hanging on out. And, you know, if you can't afford the super chat, if you can't afford getting a t-shirt, you know, telling a friend about us and helping us grow naturally is really, really awesome. You know, there are very few grassroots doing what we are doing. And the fact that we have such a solid following, it really, really helps us out. Really helps us out. So, you know, I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm going to call it the night because I got to get to bed. I got to get up with my little guy in the morning. But thank you. We'll do it all again tomorrow. And I hope to see each and every one of you here as well. And yeah, tell a friend. That's all I ask. Tell a friend, maybe two.